Yeah. Hey, this that special sauce. Spill that drip, I wipe it off. $1 million worth of game. Can't feel that I work too hard. Poetry all in these songs. What's good? What's good? What's good? It's your boy Dope Boy Diesel back in the motherfucking Doja room once again. I got a special episode here for you guys. We're just gonna talk our shit. First of all, first and foremost, go ahead and introduce yourself, homie. Let the people know who you are and give us a little bit about yourself.
My name is DJ Cali Chris. Thanks for inviting me, Dope Boy, man. I've always wanted to be a part of something like this, talking about Drake and, his legal case and everything like that is a topic of discussion right now in hip hop, man. And I'm just glad that you invited me here so we can, kind of dive in a little bit.
Yeah, facts, man. I mean, it's a pleasure having you. We've been speaking a little bit, and I peeped the intelligence. I peeped, like, you know what I'm saying, that you're a person who's been in this. I can tell the experience behind the words. So, like, I was like, man, I gotta get this dude up here.
Appreciate it, man.
You know what I'm saying? Let his words be heard on a larger scale, and
Thank you.
And just have a dope conversation.
Yeah.
Because I think we agree on most things, but I think we have a little bit of a disagreement, and I think even with the new information coming out, I think I'm gonna still hold on to my original statement of just what we were breaking down and talking about. But if I can get to that real quick, I believe where we kind of started everything off was basically us speaking on this whole bot situation, and I'm gonna just go ahead and bring up the original post real quick. What's the dirt? Shout out What's the Dirt. Always have great conversations with homie as well. He says yes, but anyone can purchase bots for a channel or video. I could purchase likes and comments for a Kendrick video right now. It's a solid indicator that his team is. It's not a solid indicator that his team is behind it. It's just not. YouTube will likely delete most of these comments. Another person commented and says, now, Dirt, you're my guy, but we not finna let you gaslight us either. And he basically played a video of Dirt, just basically confirming that, Kendrick does use bots.
Then I'm going to get back to Not Like Us and Family Matters. Now, I'm going to tell you at the gate right now, Kendrick Lamar uses bots, 100%.
So that was the gist of the video that he put in there. And, What's the Dirt clapped back? He says, I'm not saying he didn't use bots for Not Like Us or for his album, Luther, or any of it. If I had a gun to my head, I would say that he did use bots. But the example that guy showed with the comments on the music video might not be from his team. That's all I'm saying. So that's when I got in and I said, we had a great conversation about this on my channel the other day. I said, I think if Drake and Kendrick fans can agree to leave talking about the pedo shit, DV allegations, and bot conversations, just leave that out of this, we can have a way more healthy conversation in rap again. At least that's how I see it. The bots thing without solid evidence is getting weird, a tad bit weird, and I want damning information. Or let's switch the topic. We know he bots at this point, and it's like Drake's ghostwriting criticism. It's not pushing the needle in the conversation or changing how anyone feels about dude. This is where you came in. You said we can't ignore the obvious. Anybody with common sense can see what's happening. This should be beneath an artist of Kendrick's stature, especially when he's parading himself around as one of the biggest artists in clout chasing as being a big artist. So I'm gonna stop right there so maybe you can expand on your thoughts and articulate them a little bit better. We can get into it.
And like I said, I appreciate the platform, you're allowing me to have here to kind of like share my thoughts on this and everything.
Facts.
A lot of this stuff can get misconstrued and, behind the text and, get a misdisposition on what's going on. But yeah, man, like I had a healthy discussion as well in my other group me chat with my buddies, about the botting allegations and stuff like that. And I attributed or, kind of compared it to like a baseball player taking roids. It's the reason why, Mark McGwire, Barry Bonds, Sammy Sosa, they're not in the Hall of Fame. it's dishonorable, especially of a person of Kendrick's stature. You know what I mean? How everybody views him and how everybody sees him, and it's really hard to have a, a genuine conversation about the art form or the music when it's being gassed. You know what I mean? It seems manufactured, especially when we're using bots in the context of a rap beef. It's one
Right.
thing to use bots to promote your brand and your art and stuff like that. And I'll give you full disclosure. I've used bots as a DJ. You know what I mean? I know how easy it is and how accessible it is to get bots. You know what I'm saying? So when I look at Kendrick and what he's doing, you know what I mean, to actually promote his stuff and the resources he has, it's like, really, bro? Like, this is what we're doing? And yeah, I would like to get past this whole conversation about what the bots are and everything like that and how they're being used. But when you talk about saying you want a rap beef and a rap battle and the grounds you went to do it, it's hard to ignore this. It really is. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? On its face.
I definitely agree, and I guess my whole position just was coming from, like I said, it's like Drake's ghostwriting allegations. A lot of people will be like, and I'm a debater. I come from where when it comes down to debating, I want to shut the argument down, and I guess that's how I'm looking at this kind of thing.
Gotcha.
I'm looking at this like I'm out here in these OVO streets every day, holding it down.
Likewise, man. I'm a great debate, just like the next man.
Yeah, facts. So and the spirit of debate, the art of debate, it intrigues me. I love it. It's how I learn. It's how I get into topics and things like that. And it's
Evolving your
easier
arguments as well.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah, it's easier to learn for me to learn that way in the spirit of debate. When one person says something and you say another. As a kid, you never want to study, but you want to study to make sure that you're right, and you
That's
know
right.
what I'm saying? Like,
What you're
so
saying
that's
is
always
concrete.
yeah. You want to make sure that you're credible. You want to make sure that you win the argument. You know what I'm saying? And I just like it more than anything. I like being on the side of the truth, no matter where
All
that
right.
kind of puts
Exactly.
me.
I don't mind being wrong either. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah,
Like, if I'm wrong about something, you know, I'll tell you. I'll be the first to admit, I was wrong about that. And I stand corrected. You know what I
exactly.
mean? I didn't have the right information, and we can move on from there. But oftentimes, man, when you're debating someone or you having these discussions, especially in the context of this rap battle, man, they just talking, going off of some secondhand information or an echo chamber or where I heard it from somewhere else, without actually doing the research and stuff. Like I was talking to someone yesterday on Twitter. Like they were saying, well, I thought Drake pulled the case out. I'm like, no, he didn't. He just amended it. You know what I mean? And what happened?
Yeah.
Same thing happened, right? So it's like I I really look at the state of where the conversation is going in hip hop, especially when it pertains to this topic, and a lot of misinformation is being spread. You know what I mean? And oftentimes I
Yeah.
have to find myself correcting a lot of people, and I'm here more or less for educational purposes. You know what I mean?
Facts.
I'm not here to try to disparage anybody or talk bad about it or insult anybody, but oftentimes that's where the conversation leads to, right? Um,
If you
it's
on
like,
X,
bro, I don't
yeah,
even
most
know you.
likely. Yeah.
Like, you talking real reckless right now, bro. Like, and oftentimes, like, bro, these Twitter gangsters, man, it's insane, man. Like, you wouldn't say that to me if we're face to face. You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, man, it's like, bro, why we got to go there with insults and stuff? And I'm just
Yeah,
trying to help you
well,
out and educate you.
that's why I say, and that's part of the thought process of me, what I said to you, and why I kind of took the stance that I did, because like I said, I just had a conversation. Shout out Talking Rap. I had a conversation with Talking Rap, and he
Okay.
leans more Kendrick. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you ask him,
Right.
Kendrick won the beef. If you ask him, Drake is doing a whole bunch of hoe shit, and a whole bunch of stuff that he doesn't agree with. And it was nice having a conversation with somebody like that, even though we
Right.
disagree. And it was kind of a kind of an eye opening moment, because I think at that moment, the both of us, me and him, we kind of knew, like, okay, all right, we can have a conversation. Like, you know what I'm saying? We can
Right.
I can think Drake won the beef. You can think Kendrick won the beef, and we don't necessarily have to tear
Exactly.
our each other's heads off. So what is it
Mm-hmm.
that has all of us at a at each other's throats the way it does? And I just came down with, well, I think it's the conversation about the pedophilia stuff, the domestic violence stuff, and the
Right.
bot stuff. And why I say the bot stuff is because we haven't had enough time to let Drake really nail Kendrick to this whole allegation. In my opinion, I feel like we need it's one of those situations where we can't leave any room for questioning or debate. There
Well,
it has to be
let me ask you this. Do you feel like there's enough information out there to kind of like, put two and two together and, come up with the, conclusion that, hey, it definitely is something going on. Where there's smoke, there's usually fire.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Just based on the information that's out there, it's really not hard to, yeah, sure, everybody may use bots, and that's
Mhm.
okay. You know what I mean? Like, again, I've used bots to promote my music, but to disparage another man's name and to win a rap battle, I
Mhm.
mean, that's just like, whoa, what are we doing here? You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I think that's
Now,
what Drake's whole issue is. It's the label involvement in all of
uh
this.
now I
You know,
think I don't know if I exactly mentioned this to you in the conversation of or not. I think I did, but that's where I say I don't think it's a matter of what's right or what's actual reality, what people are actually gonna gravitate to or how they're gonna actually react in life, right? Like I can say that, well, everybody should have, free Medicare. We all nigga, we go to the doctor, it should be free right now. Like, you know what I'm
should be
saying? And I can
right.
say that
It
we
should
all
be.
can agree on that. That's something that we
Hmm.
can all agree on. But if we take it to the court of a public opinion, or we take it to the court of like politics and stuff like that, it's going to be
Sure.
two different reactions to that. On one hand, it might be a no-brainer. It might be, we're humans, we all need to look out for each other, brotherly love and all of that. But then it goes down to, well, this is how systems actually work, this is how people actually get information, and this is how it's going to be spun, and this is how they're going to try to poke holes in the argument. You know what I mean? This is why
Perspective is reality
politicians,
for a lot of people, right?
exactly, basically what I'm saying in so many words is, perception of things they outweigh reality in a lot of times. And I feel like more so today now than ever, it's so easy to get that misinformation going and snowballing that it's hard to stop it after a certain point. But when we get to a situation like this where we're talking about the bots, I just feel like it's one of those arguments where it's like, there's plenty of arguments for and against it, and we can kind of poke holes in everything. We can say, oh, Drake is just doing this because da 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 da, this, that, the third. But I feel like until we get that court ruling to say this is what was going down, this 100% happened, we're gonna rule on it, and we have the ruling, and that's the news coming out of this, is that, and there's still going to be people who are detractors from it, at the same time, but
Yeah,
until we
sure.
get that news
Right.
that, hey, this is fact, Drake won, and he challenged him, he said this is what it was, and he won on it, they're not going to
Right.
respect that point. There's nothing that we can do to make Kendrick fans or the other side really respect that point to the degree. I mean, even if you look at people like DJ Academics and stuff like that, when they try, they don't even really stand on that point. And people like him have had, guys who actually do the botting on his show, and
Hmm.
they still, that's still not a hill that they're necessarily willing to die on. And when I see that, I
Hmm.
have to ask myself why. You know what I'm
I
saying?
tell you why.
Huh?
It's no different than being, a fan of a football team, right? You might like the New York Jets. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Win or lose, you still ride or die with them, right?
Right.
I'm a Charger fan. You know what I mean? Win, lose or draw, I'm riding with the Chargers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like with we all have our favorite rappers. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
Kendrick is who they swear by, and whether it's true or not, you know what I mean? They're gonna find reasons to objectively make their arguments. You know what I mean? No matter if the facts are staring them right in the face. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's how they ride. And I'm not saying that all Kendrick fans are like that, but the majority of them, you know what I mean? They don't like looking at objective reality. You know. And I'm coming to learn that. And I'm not trying to like paint a broad brush on all of them like that. Again, not all of them are like this, but the majority of them out there are just, not looking at how Kendrick moved and how he's been going in this past year.
Mm-hmm.
All they're looking at is the final product. That's all they care about, especially when it comes to Kendrick. They can
Yeah.
break down, analyze, find Easter eggs in the music and everything like that. But when it comes to Drake, it's like that selective ignorance. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They don't care about, what this man has gone through the past year or anything like that and how it's got to this point. All they care about is he lost a rap beef. And that's just like football. All they care about is they don't care about the penalties or any of the ways that they cheated to win the
Just care
game
about
or
the
anything.
dub. All that matters at the end of the day is that win, and they don't
That's how I
necessarily
see it, man.
care. They don't
Yep.
care that Kawhi got the championship because he hit a once in a lifetime shot, and on top of that, there was a bunch of people injured, and on top of that, KD ankle exploded, and on top of that, they don't care because but that's kind of what I'm saying, because at the end of the day, we still give Kawhi all of this props. And I
Yeah.
think that's a great example, because at the
It's a
end
good
of the day,
analogy. Yeah.
nobody really questions all of those things, that how the stars align for this man. They just look at him and just gave him, well, now he's in the West. Oh, now he's the king of the West. Now he
You know
runs
how they ride.
LA.
Yep.
It's it,
Mm-hmm.
it's crazy. It's crazy how perception of things, you know what I'm saying? It just it fucks with reality a lot of the times, and it doesn't give us a clear picture on. And like we were saying before the show started, I think both of us can agree that Drake won that battle, but public perception of everything, and then even coming out after the battle with the lawsuit, I don't know, because there might be a lot of people, even if Drake wins, who said, nah, bro, you sued, it's a rap, like you killed you killed hip hop rap beef, like, and there's
Yeah, I've
people
seen
saying
some
that
of that
now.
stuff out there, man.
Yeah.
Like, how can you say that though? That's just weird to me, man. Like, that's just I don't know how he logically can say, even if he does win this rap beat or win this lawsuit, right? And he kind of pulls the cover over the nefarious tactics that not just Kenny was using, but UMG, how their
Mm-hmm.
involvement in all of it. You know what I mean? Like, if it were any other artist, like I said, there are a lot of artists where the label has like just done wrong, and
Mm-hmm.
like Angie Stone, for instance, right? Everybody had her back, you know what I mean, Taylor Swift when she sued the DJ. I mean,
Right.
Limp Bizkit's got a case going on right now too, you know what I mean, with UMG,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody's pulling for the artist. It's no different than when a man wants to get his money from a team in football, right? We all for the
Right.
man getting his money, and that's why Drake is like trying to, not just save his reputation, but he's trying to get paid too,
Yeah.
what he's worth,
What he's
right?
owed. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And what's wrong with that? And then it's like if it were anybody else, they'll be pom poms be out if you ask me. But
Yeah.
when it comes to Drake, again, they find that selective ignorance, I call it, and they have the comprehension skills of a 12-year-old, they can't figure it
Yeah.
out. You know what I mean? But I do want the conversation to get back to a more healthier place, especially what it was before the beef started, right? I feel like, the bot activity gives a false impression on what reality is.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
In
saying? And
terms of
that's
the
part
beef.
of what, yeah, it gives, and it gives people, the license to formulate certain arguments when it comes to this stuff. You know what I mean? Because the
Mm-hmm.
numbers look more than what they really are, and that's where I just kind of like, that's not what's hot, man. You know what I mean? You guys should be able to see past that. If it were anybody else, you guys would be like, nah, man. You know, You could see this
Yeah.
boxer's taking steroids. Like, I
and,
mean,
and in no other industry is, you know, these enhancements or just blatant cheating. And I think that's kind of how Drake looked at it. You know,
right.
he's like, well, I don't do all of this stuff. I don't do the
I
bundles. I
don't
don't
need
do
to.
this. I don't do that. I don't need to. And, you know, he looked at this going into this battle as, okay, you know, there's certain ways this is going to go, and there's certain things that are going to be talked about or whatever the case may be. But I think Drake believes there's a strict parameter of things that you attack and say in a beef, and then there's some strict, and we seen this with Pusha T.
Yeah,
When it came down to him talking about 40 and shit like that,
and his
like
son and everything, right?
this is not foreign that Drake has a strict set of things and a place that he doesn't go. You know what I'm saying? And even him policing himself in that Pusha T battle to not drop a diss record, which maybe he wanted to drop a Not Like Us. Maybe he thought that, like, and that could be the part of the frustration that he's having too, is like, well, shit, nigga, I could have dropped some shit like this a couple years ago, and they're over here praising this shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I stopped myself from going this far, from taking
Yeah.
it in this realm. You know what I'm saying? But, and who knows? He probably knew some shit, could say some shit that would have had our heads spinning. But, you know, I think, you know, like I said, it's the perception, and he has to just sit here and like be like, all right, fuck, like I know that what they're gonna say about this whole bots things and me doing whatever, but at the end of the day, I gotta do what's right. Like, I gotta stand on it. I gotta stand on my own too.
And not
And
only that, but like I feel like he kind of foresaw a lot of all of this because he talks about it in the rap too. You know what I mean? You know, the whole talking about the kids and stuff like that. I feel like what he didn't expect was the blowback that came from it. You know what I mean? Like the violence and everything. That's kind of what
right,
threw everything off. I
right.
think he knew like the game was fixed. It was rigged. You know, he knew like the label had picked a side. You know, like he knew all of that. But I feel like he rightfully so, good music is going to last. You know, at the end of the day, the music is going to be what speaks, not this other crap, you know? Um, and when you look at it, Family Matters is going to, you know, be the record that I think stands tall at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Because people are going to look at Not Like Us a little differently when and if these, you know, bot allegations become, you know, ironclad, so to speak, you know,
Well,
because I
then
feel
that
like,
goes into where I disagree at, because are they really?
yeah, because
I
if you
actually
look,
disagree.
well, the reason why I say that is because when you look at the previous rap beefs that Drake partook in, right? Where did he drop those songs? They weren't released on DSPs or
Yeah.
major. The label was not involved. It wasn't pushed. There was no promotion. There was no campaign. None of that. You know what I mean? It was drop it on your own website or your SoundCloud and let the music just take off.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I feel like the impact is different when you do it that way. The Duppy freestyle, for instance, against Pusha T, he put that on SoundCloud.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Just let
saying?
that float.
Just let it go. You know what I mean? It should be a 1v1. You know what I mean? We
Yeah.
should be going
Yeah.
head up.
And
You know what I
and
mean?
I get what you're saying in that aspect, because, you know, even when it came down to back and stuff like that, I
He
feel
didn't
like
want
he
that
looks
promoted.
at yeah, I feel like he looks at these beef songs in a different way. I think a lot of people, you know, got
There's a
excited
level of
because
sanctity there. You know what I mean? When you're
yeah,
talking about a rap beef, right? There should be.
yeah,
I'm not saying there are no rules and stuff like that. I'm not getting into all of that. Don't get me wrong. Things can be said. You know, we just watched Apollo last week, right? Man, people are, you know, going at it, man. Like that's rap beef. But when we talking about fucking on kids, man, like whoa,
yeah.
that's
It's
not something rappers talk about.
yeah, that's we need to start doing serious investigations and stuff like that when shit like I don't, and I think that's how he's looking at it. Like, this is not some shit that we should just be
Way out of bounds. And if
rapping
this is what
about and then you just leave it alone. And, you know, he's probably in a lot of circles where it's like people look at him like, why would he be saying these things about? And then on top of that, Diddy is Diddy is going and going through everything that he's going through at the very same time, from videos to, you know, all of this groundbreaking information, and he's actively trying to paint the picture of like, yeah, they're gonna kick down the embassy next, like they're coming to the embassy next. You're gonna see him outside and or in handcuffs, and them and taking baby oil out of his house. Yeah, you know, Kendrick was definitely trying to paint that picture.
They were trying to paint that picture, bro. And the thing is, let's just say, hypothetically speaking, you know, we'll go with that narrative. Let's just say any of it was true, right? Because there are a lot of people that believe that, even to this day.
They do. They truly believe that, and I truly think they believe that, and it's damaging to his career.
UMG has culpability. You're harboring a criminal. You're harboring. If you know this to be true, why isn't Drake on the list of offenders? You know what I'm saying? And you're actively promoting it. It would be no different than like when 50 and the Game was in a rap beef, right? They weren't pushing 300 bars or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? Like they were both under the same label, Interscope. They let that go. Labels stay out of it. You know what I'm saying? If you're gonna promote one record, do the same for the other record. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And they both were released on DSPs. Family Matters and Not Like Us, they were released on DSPs. If you go and look at the numbers, how that record is promoted, and you look at Not Like Us, it's obvious. It's black and white. I was explaining this to someone today in a tweet. Like, look at The Heart Part 6. It has more dislikes than likes. And how's that even possible for an artist of Drake's stature? You know what I mean? That ratio doesn't even make sense. You're not going to find that.
Just bombing it. Yeah, they just bombing that shit. And
it's not just Kenny. You know what I mean? Kenny not the issue. If Kenny wanted to go buy box and do all that stuff, fine. But this is the label that's involved now. And again, me being a person who is privy to how bot activity works, oh my gosh, they could end the person's career. Literally.
Yeah.
Literally. You know what I mean? Like they can buy football fields worth of this stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for real. I look, just being an artist, I've seen and not particularly bots, but being on a big playlist, and I've said this before, being on one of those big playlists that has 50,000, 100,000 monthly listeners, like
getting that exposure, right?
Yo, it makes these curators the new Funk Flex, the new Ebros, like
these gatekeepers, yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of times, like when you want your music to at least have those numbers, I can't even say blow up because it's so hard it's so many factors into blowing up, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But if you want your music to have those organic numbers, you have to go through these gatekeepers who have amassed this huge following of people who listen to their records, but it's almost a definite that you're going to have a playlist. And I was looking at some of the playlists when the allegations came out from the website that you could go on and look at these things and see the botted playlist that he's on. I was looking at some of those numbers and I'm like, yo, bro, when I was on a playlist that had like 100,000 listeners, bro, I was doing like, we talking like somewhere upwards of like 8,000 listens a day. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're talking about me going from like 100 listeners to like 8,000. So now imagine, you know, and that's my Spotify that you can just go on and look and see, and it's like it's 8,000 monthly listeners. Imagine a Kendrick Lamar to the point to where it's like, all right, I got a couple of these playlists just working for me around the clock, going crazy. Mind you, when you go to Submit Hub, that's usually they throw your playlist on there for like a week. I mean, they throw your song on the playlist for like a week. You get that spin. If they really like your song, maybe you're on there for more than a week. But that's just like a week of plays that you're getting, and you automatically get bumped up for the month. You know what I'm saying? And your shit is looking crazy for the month. Which is why you seen that crazy drop as well, because if that's not a consistent number that you're getting day in and day out, once that new month rolls around, that is gonna drop back down. Yeah, it's gonna drop. If that's not a consistent, you know,
See, I didn't know that.
Listener count.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, that's basically how it works. It's not, you know, I have this many people who've listened to the song. Each individual song might tell you that. But when it comes down to the monthly listeners that's sitting at the top, that's usually referring to how many people have listened to you in a 28-day, span of time. That's a number that so like I said, once that 28 days rolls around, if that's not consistently your number, it's going to drop down. So yeah, that
And what
spike
gives you
that
that
he's
kind of
seen.
exposure is being in that playlist, right? In that algorithm,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. And then the placement where you are on the playlist, whether you're at the top of the playlist or the bottom, because you can imagine people hop on the playlist, first thing they're going to do is hit the first song and let it play, because that's the whole point of
Sure.
the
That's
playlist.
right.
So, you know what I'm
That's
saying?
right.
Those
Yeah.
first couple of songs are going to get, so even the placement in the playlist matters, because you don't want to be at the bottom of the playlist. Most people are going
Correct.
to be
No.
listening to the playlist, or you fuck around, start doing something else, or oh damn, I want to listen to that album again. Like, you know what I'm saying? You get distracted, and you know what I'm saying? So all of that stuff matters. All of that. So even when you break down and look at the placement of his songs, you can tell
Where they were
whether
located. Yeah. Yeah.
not,
Yeah.
but you can tell the intention. You can tell the intention, because if that person is putting that song at the top of that playlist, oh, you mean for it to get a shit ton of plays, rather than you just putting the song in the playlist anywhere randomly, and it's
And
just
that's the
because you
label.
like the song.
That's the label. That's not Kendrick Lamar, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's the label,
And
right?
his
I mean,
team.
and that's what this is like. Okay, they really trying to like dead the boy. You know what I mean? Like they really trying to end him. You know what I mean? And by any way possible. And I think I heard something a few days ago about Budden talking about like how bots are being used to defeat Drake. That was the only way to do it. You know what I mean? Like it's the only way you're going to, the numbers. You got to, speak
Yeah,
to the numbers, and if the
take the
numbers
numbers
don't
away from
show
him.
that, yeah, and it's all making sense. You know what I mean? That now as time has passed, and it's like wow, the lengths that these people went to try to like deflate Drake and make him look less than what he really is, and hurt his brand. Not only did he lose money, obviously, and you know, people got hurt, the violence of it all, you know what I mean? And just the ramifications of it, the downstream effects, taking your kid out of school and,
Hmm.
protecting, his mom and everything like that. Man, this is real life stuff, man. All because you wanted to, offer a greed of money, you
Yeah.
know? I
I,
feel
I I
like,
think I think a lot of it came because if you look at For All the Dogs, and you look at songs that I think it's called I Remember, where
yeah,
he says who's the CEO of Universal, they
it's
mistake
all,
me.
yeah, Away From Home is a song.
Yeah, away from home. And
Hmm.
he said Google saying Lucian, but that just doesn't make sense. I think he
Makes
was
sense.
throwing shots then, and I think if people change their perception and look at it like this, Drake has been upset
Oh,
and not
wow.
happy for a while,
Hmm.
and he wouldn't. That doesn't sound like a bar that you would throw out there to somebody. That sounds like a shot. That sounds like more of a shot more than anything, because I mean, if
I think he was
I've
throwing
worked
shots in her loss. Privileged rappers.
that too, of course.
Yeah.
Just
Um,
because, like, I mean, they look how much people need to stand next to him. Look how much needs to be done for people to stand next to him. You know what I'm saying? And
Major
I
distribution as well. I just looked at the track list too. Major distribution. He was throwing shots at the
that
record
as
label
well.
as well. Yeah.
Yep.
I feel like he definitely foresaw a lot of this. He's prophetic in a lot of his music, man. And you listen to some of the 8 a.m. in Charlotte, and a lot of the Red Button stuff, and it's
Churchill
like
Downs.
Churchill Downs. Like, I mean, he foresaw a lot of this stuff, man. And the fact that like as he said, it's made for divine ears. It'll all come clear once the sky clears, right? And it's all happening, just how he said it in the music, and it just validates. You know what I mean? Like our what you can call it fandom for Drake. You know what I mean? Or our
Hmm.
what we feel for him and what he's going through. Because man, it's like anybody else, I would sue too. Like what can
Yeah.
you do? What can you do?
It's just it's not gonna. It's one of those decisions that is not gonna make sense to too many people except you, and it's where it's your ass on the line, it's your reputation on the line, and it's like you have to deal with the consequences and see the consequences of that. Nobody else can see the consequences
No,
of you just
you have
being
to live it.
casually called a pedophile other than you. You know what I'm saying? Like, and like I said, like we said, I mean, people actually believe this shit.
Yeah, man.
So, you know, he does have every ground, you know, especially in 2025 with the way people are getting taken down. And, you know, I mean, people are going to forever, you know, look at him with kind of like a side eye and still wonder
Absolutely.
why. And we're talking about the casuals
Asterisk.
who don't do their research,
Yep.
who are going to take,
Some
you
people's first
know,
exposure to Drake was at Super Bowl, man.
mm, wow.
You know what I'm saying? And like the Super Bowl is a big platform, and now you're spreading, that someone's a pedophile. Like, and they may not even for them like it's like, oh, wait, what is Kendrick talking about? I mean, it could be like a, I mean, someone from Nebraska or something like that who listens to just pop and rock music. Hip hop was platform for the Super Bowl, right? And that's
Mm-hmm.
their exposure to it. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And that's just gonna, make them go down that rabbit hole. You know what I'm saying? And it validates some of their thoughts and what's going
Now
on.
you got
You
the
know what I mean? So
YouTube conspiracy theorists like, why would Kendrick say such a thing, and what does he know that we don't know?
you don't think millions
And
of people were doing that, man? Like,
yeah,
yeah. And again, it
it
had
just
ramificating effects. Like there was violence
yeah,
that came from that, right?
yeah,
And it sucks for Drake, man, because I don't think he ever wanted it to get to this point, right? It was just supposed to be a rap beef, you know,
yeah.
a
I
war of
think
words.
I think Drake just wanted to prove finally that he's the better MC, and you know, and just lay that argument to rest
Right?
because, like
Do
I
you feel like
said,
he did that?
I do feel like he did that, and like we spoke about before, you know, the show started. Um, when it comes down to Taylor Made,
Whew,
that was like his Meet the Grams. You know what I'm saying?
it was. Yeah.
If you and I say this to the Kendrick fans who listen, because a lot of them do listen. A lot of them do listen. Just just
Hmm.
give you the heads up.
They want different perspectives too. I know.
And, well, a lot of them be on their. I'm not gonna say that because I got a lot of niggas in the comments who be
Oh
talking they shit.
man.
But let me just say before I say what I'm gonna say, you niggas are always welcome. Instead of talking that shit, y'all always welcome to hop on the show as well. Hop on the live show. Hop on the show in general, and let's get to it. But you know, a lot of Kendrick fans duck smoke when it come down to me. But you know,
Hmm.
I think that a lot of people, you know, especially when it comes down to them, they don't necessarily want to understand those things. They don't necessarily. They're not here to understand in the first place. You know what I'm saying? When it comes down to it, so you know, when they are listening, which, like I said, they are. You might have some people who, you know, listen with an open ear and perspective, but you know, yeah. A lot of people, especially the ones who come in here, they not really trying to hear that. They're not
I
really
know.
trying to.
And it's just a shame, man, because like, how can you get behind what Kenny is doing right now as honorable, or as he's a man of integrity. Like, how do you support that? And that's kind of where I kind of draw a line as a man first than anything. You know what I mean? It's like
Mm-hmm.
it's dishonorable. You know what I mean? Like I said, my dad's a boxing coach as well, man. And when I was coming up, man, if
I
I knew
boxed as
that my
well.
opponent, was doing anything to gain an advantage in that regard in any performance enhancing drug, right? He'll be stripped. You
Facts.
know what I'm saying? It'll be stripped. And when I look at the rap, I look at it as a confrontational thing. It should be a 1v1. You know what I mean? And any enhancement that you're using to try to win or overcome the other person should be ridiculed, criticized. You know what I mean? It's going to be an asterisk by it. And if you're getting behind that as a man, you need to get away from me. You just need to get
Yeah,
away from me. I don't want
I
nothing.
think, I think, you know, Drake had his Donald Trump moment, and when I say
Mm,
that, I mean, you know, Donald Trump lost the last election because more people disliked him than they even liked Joe Biden.
Yeah,
And
people just stayed home more or less, right?
well, people came out to just make sure that he wasn't the president. He wasn't the winner. And like even
Voting
when
out of spite.
yeah, and even when I like I was just saying about Taylor Made, there logically that's Drake's meet the Grams, but
Yeah.
a lot of people are going to dismiss that disingenuously just because they don't want to imagine a world where Drake is that
Getting
creative. Drake is
yeah.
that
Which is
deep.
crazy, man. Like how any other artist would get that credence for being versatile, right? You
Yeah.
look at Chris Brown and the fact that he can rap and dance and sing and all that kind of stuff. But Drake is a literal unicorn. Like I've never
Yeah.
seen another artist that can do what he does. Like make pop records, make Latin records, make
Yeah.
reggaeton, make Afro beats. You know what I'm saying? Like the
Go on
man is
SNL and act
yes, like
and be
man.
funny. Damn
And
near
he's
a
funny,
comedian.
bro. Like, yeah, man, hilarious. Like he's multi-talented and multifaceted, but they look at every corner, like you said, they just can't imagine a reality where that exists, and it's a shame, especially as a black man. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that's something
Yeah.
that really hits home with me
They
too. Like the fact he's getting disparaged like this as a black man, and the black community don't accept him like any other person would. Like it's
Yeah,
wild to me.
but that's why I said he's having his Donald Trump moment because the
Yeah,
moments of
yeah,
truth, the real conversations where you gotta, look in the mirror and call yourself a hypocrite, they're not going to address those. I always say, and I can just tell. Don't tell me how I know. A lot of the people who are big Kendrick Lamar fans and are of that ilk of oh, Kendrick is fighting for black power and this black message
no,
and
he's not.
this
Yeah.
and that, and those are the same people who voted for Kamala Harris,
And that's okay.
and
Yeah, and that's okay.
and that's fine. But at the same time, it all fits that. So I
That
feel
narrative,
like it's
yeah.
almost like a revenge. This came at a time where these people were also feeling attacked. They feel like they got to keep the Trump out. They feel like they got to
I never
keep
connected
Drake
those
out.
two, man. Wow.
I
I had an
truly
epiphany just now.
yeah, no,
Wow.
I truly feel like the correlation between those two
Yeah.
people are the same people in a lot of cases. In a good 75% of those people who
That
go
demographic.
so hard for Kendrick Lamar, those are the same people who go so hard for Kamala Harris. Those are the same people who go hard and they want to see, that white people don't come in and they don't touch this and they don't
Right.
touch that, and oh, why are you wearing that hairstyle, and why we have to like come to a point to where it's
Wow.
like you guys have to realize hip hop is so big, and I say this to a lot of people that come in on the show, that even though that may be the case and hip hop is something to be protected, Drake and Kendrick are two sides of the same coin. Where Kendrick represents this traditional side and this, traditional rap in 90s
Yeah.
into the
Boom
new
bap stuff.
era. Yeah,
Yeah.
but he brings it into the new era beautifully in a great way, and it works. Drake represents the inquisitive, the experimental, the going outside and blending hip hop with new and different sounds
I mean,
that
if you want
we've
to continue
never
that
heard
analogy, I
before.
look at him like an LL Cool J. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. So, and there's been plenty of people who represent that mold, but Drake, I feel like, is just the person who has pushed rap further than it's ever been pushed, and he's raised the bar so high that he's more culture and important to hip hop than a Kendrick Lamar. You know what I'm
Way
saying?
more.
Because
Way more.
we don't get the dollars, we don't get the new fans, we don't get the blending of cultures. I
I'm
mean,
out in Tokyo
he's a
because I'm big in
Jewish
Japan. You know what I'm saying?
African American Cadian nigga. Like, You know what I'm saying? Like, he can reach into so many bags and bring so many people together. You
That's
know
right.
that it takes a person like a Drake
But he's a
to,
colonizer for that, right?
yeah, but he's a colonizer, and that's such a dangerous message. That's such a stupid message at the same time too. When, like I said, he's the guy who can bring the African Americans, the Jews, the this, the that, all
The
together. You know what I'm
Jamaicans, the
saying?
Caribbean folks, you know what I'm saying? Like he can
Exactly.
bring everybody together, man, and it sounds really beautiful, man. Like,
And he often does.
yep, he does. That's just how he is. Like you said, you know, with his, you started this conversation off about him being genuine, you know, like, and actually, you know, helping other people out. And like, man, I mean, he brought Kendrick on tour, right? I was there.
Yeah.
I watched it. You know,
Yeah.
I was at that San Diego show when he, you know, was bigging up Kenny. You know what I mean? I was right
Wow.
there. Yeah,
Wow.
I can show you the video. And it's like now that
That's crazy.
he got into this point, he's clout chasing
You
and
gotta
trying.
hold on. You gotta speak on that for a moment. Like, you can't just go past that. Like, the
It
what?
was a Club
Like,
Paradise tour, man. I was there, man. I was with my homeboy Donovan and my fiance at the time, Janae. We watched the whole concert. It was with Miguel. He was one of the openers, you know, the singer.
uh-huh. That's one of my
Um,
favorites.
yeah, and Kendrick came after him, um, and ASAP Rocky, and then Drake. And after the show was over, you know, he brought everybody on stage, and you know, he gave them everybody big ups, and you know, he more or less was saying, you know, Kenny's gonna be the next, you know, thing popping. You know, Kenny's the, you know, next superstar, and you know, y'all shout out Kendrick Lamar and everything like that, and you know, fucking problems came after that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was playing that record as a DJ. You know what I mean? Like, it was one of the most requested songs. I have routines for that song. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, Kendrick's part of that song was like, hold up, you know you want this dick. You know what I'm saying? Like that. I have like I have so many different, you know, ways to, you know, transition that song into a different one, man. That record was big, and the fact that Drake was willing to, you know, give you something like that, you know what I mean? Like that STEMI package is really, you know, a real thing. You know, anything that another artist, you know, has to, you know, or works with Drake or contributes to Drake, you know, they end up becoming, you know, bigger than what they are. You know, I go to Rick Ross, you know,
Uh-huh.
Party. I can. The list goes on. You know, they Future, right? I mean, him being a part of that
Migos.
tour gave
Yeah.
him a lot of exposure and
Mm-hmm.
given him that kind of like, you know, green pass. I'm not saying Kendrick wouldn't have been big before all that, but it did help, you know, boost his career and put him in that white hot space of hip hop. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Because Drake was living there. He was living on the charts. He had hits already at that time. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So like for him to kind of like say, "Hey, y'all look at Kendrick too." You know, I feel like a lot of people, you know, felt good about it because I think Kendrick only had what section. Well, I got to go back and think about it. I think it was just I don't even think Good Kid, Mad City came out yet
No.
at that time. I don't think it did, but
I
I got to
don't
go back and look.
know
I
if
think
it did. Either it came right before or right after.
right after, yeah. But in any
Yeah.
case, man, being on tour with Drake gave him a lot of exposure to that white hot space, and the fact that, you know, I mean, they have interactions afterwards, and bro, I've been listening to them diss each other for I don't know how many years, right? They've been throwing subs at each other, right? I mean, the competitiveness is always going to be there, but for you to stoop this low and be, you know, this like, what happened? It all seems manufactured. You know what I mean? Like you were cool with him, you know, you were touring with him, you were, you know,
I don't know if it's really manufactured. I think there's
a
some
strong
real
disdain there.
jealousy there. I mean, I
Okay.
think when you look at, it being confirmed of them, there really being a picture of, and I think What's the Dirt actually confirmed this. There really being a picture of Drake on the wall
Yeah.
that Top put up, and I mean that Punch put up, and he really had these niggas cooking up like, yeah, this is who we trying to be. This is who we trying to be day in and day out. He got you niggas coming in, and day in and day out, you were looking at this man, and maybe
You really think
I
he was on
feel
that type of energy, huh?
I feel like, yeah, I feel like Drake got the attention that Kendrick didn't, necessarily, well, that he wanted, and he made Kendrick switch up his his sound and style in a
Yeah.
way that he didn't necessarily want to. So I think there's resentment about that. I think there's, there may be some resentment with how freely and, effortlessly Drake is just nonchalant with his rollouts and the things that he does, and he just gets the numbers. He doesn't have to do the bundles. He doesn't have to do all the crazy
Tour
aesthetics
tickets and
and stuff like.
merchandise and yeah.
Yeah, like he doesn't have to do those things. He just effortlessly with one.
Puts the
I
music
always
out.
say Drake beats the game down with one hand behind his back, and I think now for now he like and we got to just look at how he just doesn't even try half the time. Like Drake is really lazy when it comes down to dropping music. If you really look at it from his videos, he can always do way more videos. He can always do a way bigger rollout. He can always do a way bigger.
Especially on the promotional side. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, yeah. He can always do a way bigger roll. I mean, he is the biggest. And he does this like, I don't even have to do, like, why? Like, I'm already fucking all you niggas up. Like, I'm already shitting
And
on
that
all
kind of
these
goes
niggas.
back to this conversation we were having earlier. Why would he need bots?
He doesn't. I truly don't think Drake doesn't need bots, and I think any bots that you might see come out of this, coming like, oh my God, Nokia's on the botted list. I think that's just to even out the playing field at this point, to just try to say, oh yeah, Drake is on there too. Drake in not in a million years. And I always go back to the tweet that Funk Flex put out. He said Drake doesn't pay for play. Drake
No.
doesn't pay for play. He 100% does not have to do this.
I knew that when he put out Tuscan Leather, man. He's like, he said it in the raps, like, this is not for the radio, but they'll still play it though, because this is what the people want. And I mean, as a DJ, I resonate with that. Like,
it's undeniable.
You can't deny what the music is like, that people want, the music. You can't fake that influence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're making good quality music, that's going to speak louder than any of this crap that's going on.
How do you not play the biggest and the best shit in the game right now? How do you not play that shit?
You got to play Nokia. You have to.
Yeah. And after a while, I think they started to realize that. But and the Nokia is like the biggest testament of why Drake has been who he is, and why all the arguments of well Drake benefited from all the same stuff that Kendrick did this whole time. Well, look at what we just witnessed with Nokia. Right. Drake is literally in a public, very public, and very, very much like big lawsuit with his
with his label. Why would the label put any money in his pocket right now?
Yeah. Why would they help him? In which they weren't. They weren't at first. And I think Nokia is just now starting to get some radio play, because I said this last show.
It's undeniable. Can't deny good music, man.
No, I took the time. I drove from New York to South Carolina a couple of weeks ago.
And a 3-4 hour drive?
Oh, hell no. Maybe more like 12.
Sheesh.
More like 12, yeah. That we talking New York to South Carolina, yeah, that's a good 12.
Man, that's a nice drive, bro.
But I said I'm gonna unplug the aux, and I'm gonna listen to the radio in every city I go through. And when
you did that?
on that drive, on that drive, you go through every city. You go through Baltimore, you go through Washington,
Philadelphia,
you go through
Washington,
Richmond, you go in Virginia, you go through North Carolina, you go through damn near the entire East Coast.
East Coast, yeah.
A majority of the East Coast.
So what was your experience like?
It was a lot of Luther, Kendrick, more Kendrick, then maybe some SZA, then Glorilla, then maybe a random Drake song, not even Nokia, not even anything from some sexy songs, except Give Me a Hug. Give Me a Hug was the only thing that I heard being played a couple of times. Other than that, it was heavy on Luther. It was heavy on 30 for 30. And maybe a random SZA song or some shit that she just put out. And then, but it was just like basically a Kendrick marathon the entire way.
crazy. That's
to
crazy.
from New York to South Carolina. You know what I'm saying? And
Wow. On that side of the country, that's crazy,
on this
man.
side of the country, and you know, we fuck with Kendrick in New York, and we
Sure.
play
Yeah.
him,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we fuck with him in the South too. But
Yeah.
it's never been like this. It's never been
This
on
is
this level.
saturation,
Like,
yeah. Yeah, that's
yes.
saturation, bro. Like, I mean, out here, I think I have a similar experience. I don't particularly listen to the radio too much unless like I'm taking the kids to school or something like that, or I'm picking them up from school. And yeah, I mean, oftentimes when I do turn the radio on, man, it's like you said, it's Kendrick being blasted. Well, that Squabble Up. I
Squabble up.
hear,
Yeah.
yeah, I hear Luther like crazy. But yeah, I very rarely hear Drake, man. I may have heard Drake one time, and it was "Give Me a Hug." I have not heard Nokia on the radio. I
No,
have
no,
not,
I didn't hear Nokia one time the
and
entire
my
time
daughters love
I
that
was
song.
going there. Yeah.
My daughters love that song. Like, anytime I play it, or anytime I, get in the car, they're asking me, "Daddy, play Nokia. Daddy, play Nokia." And they got their phones. It's that song going 3 times platinum in my house right now. You know what I mean? Like. They cannot stop playing that song. You know what I mean? And it's like, how are they not? I mean, I know why they're not playing it on the radio, but like, it's like, man, at some point you can't deny a hit, man. And I feel like maybe a few more weeks, it should be, number one. And then that's what the label doesn't want. If he gets more hits than Michael Jackson, jeez.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah,
no, he'll tie Michael Jackson, or will he beat him?
he'll I believe he'll beat Michael Jackson,
Oh
or
wow,
he might tie. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
he'll really have leverage then. I mean,
Yeah, I mean he's beating the Beatles down to fucking damn near beat every record these niggas got at this point. But he's the most. What was the record that we got from him last time? He did some shit on Billboard.
RIAA records most
Yeah, he has the most RIA certified records. Like, what do you have?
of
Like
all time.
500 or some shit? Like some crazy shit.
It's
I'm
insane, man.
like, it really
And
baffles
he's a
me
rapper.
when
He's a rapper.
yeah,
Like, it's not like
most of his catalog is hip hop.
hip hop is not really platform like that. You know what I mean? Like, not like a pop or if you ever go to like look at Latin charts and stuff like that. Oh my
Mm,
God, it's completely different. It's all different animal. And like, to be up there with the Bad Bunnies and Taylor Swifts and stuff like that, Bruno
facts,
Mars's, like, that's
facts. Like
just tip my cap, bro.
that man is in extraordinary company, and he's
In the
definitely
face of a
solidified.
battle with his label, right?
Yeah,
You know,
with his label and several other artists at that.
actively trying to suppress him. You know what I mean? Like, actively doing it. You know what I mean? I know they're sabotaging a lot of, like, think about it. Like, Family Matters is not platform like Not Like Us.
No,
You don't hear that on the radio.
and it
You'll
should.
never hear it on the radio. And
It
you should,
should.
like, if you don't have a dog in the fight, like, you should be if you're really about the money, you should be promoting both records to make the money, right?
Yeah,
So I mean, that's
and that's how
just
I don't
like,
understand that. I don't understand that argument that we are promoting both records and we're doing whatever to. It's like there's no way you are. There's no
there's
way
no
you
way.
are, because Family Matters. Even if you just take the first half of the song and just play that on the radio, I mean, come on, or vice versa, however you want to do it. Like, it's like, come on. If you gonna sit here and put this much behind
A
Not
record
Like
talking about
Us,
child pedophilia too. At that, man, like, we
we
talking
should
about
hear Kendrick just open his mouth. Someone go hand him yeah. We should have been hearing that on the airwaves, like. And this is why I say it'll have been a much different beef if Drake was just from New York. If Drake was from New York,
ooh, I think I
there
saw that
would
somewhere. Oh, and why
if
is
Drake,
that, bro?
because bro, first of all, he would have been from America. That would have been number one. That angle wouldn't have worked, and we would have stood behind from the. You got to think about it, from the
The way in
DJs.
New York, motherfuckers ride for their rappers, bro, is
Like
insane.
the look, New York would have spilled into Jersey. Jersey would have spilled into Baltimore. Like it's that's what I'm
When
saying.
New
Like,
York sneezes, like Connecticut, Philly, they all get the residue from it,
yeah,
basically, right?
that whole New Ho King bar and all of that fanned out shit in Toronto would not
That
have
wouldn't roll.
happened. It would.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have let that shit happen. We wouldn't have let that shit happen. I know for a fact uptown in Harlem, niggas was playing. Niggas was had a no Kendrick fly zone. No Kendrick being played in this party, in this part of town. In this, like, yeah, niggas was on that. They was on that. Like, nah, we ain't doing none of that shit over here. None of that stuff is about to happen. This is Drake. This is a Drake party. We playing Drake over here, and that's what it was. And he ain't even from there. I can only imagine him being from the towns. Like, and I mean, you got to think we would have damn near had
if he was an MC East from Coast Brooklyn, for instance, right? Like,
come on. We would have had a new East Coast versus. This would have been the new Biggie. This would have been marketed as the new Biggie versus Pac. This would have been that. This would have been that. And I think it would have been a more poetic story for, you know, the label and everybody to push. That you would have even had the New York, think about all the New York OGs would have stood behind him, stood on it. Fuck all of that staying out of here. Like, nah, yeah, it's New York all day, baby. Like, it's East Coast all day. We don't even really be doing all that East Coast shit, but yeah, it's that East Coast shit over. Fuck all that West. You know what I'm saying? They would have
reblogged and all that stuff, man.
Yeah, they would have stood on it, and just for the fact of so many people who still have feelings about back then in the East Coast, West Coast, and how things went.
Well, way y'all ride for y'all rappers is insane, though. Like, I was in a space the other day with someone, and they were talking about, like, the infatuation with Fabulous, for instance. I didn't understand it. I'm like, wait a second. Really? Y'all really ride for Fabulous like that? Like,
hell yeah. I met Fab, too, yo. I met Fab in Jersey. We was going to this taco spot. I was coming out. Me and my homeboy was coming out. He was going in with some two bad joints. And I had to double take, walk past the nigga, got in the car. I was like, asked my homie, I was like, yo, that was Fab. Like, yeah, like, I had to stick my head out the car. I'm like, yo, Fab. Like, yo, what the fuck? Yo, what's up? He's like, yo, what's good? Like, yo, I'm like, damn, son. Came up to the car, dapped us up and shit like that. I'm like, damn. And he's a real good dude, too. But, yeah, Fab is just like, I don't know. He's just one of those guys that it's just respect, bro. Like,
just the way that y'all ride for y'all rappers. Like, I mean, personally, because like I said, I was talking to him and I was like, bro, to me, I feel like Jadakiss is better than, you know, I
had the opportunity to meet him and his son too.
But like they were like, yo, Fab is one of the best rappers ever, bro. I'm like, I really feel that way, huh? And I'm like, I mean, that's crazy. Like, coming from the West Coast, I wouldn't see it that way. But I understand that New York bubble is something different. You know what I mean?
It's the same way. Like, yeah, it's the same way that we kind of feel about over there, because a lot of people don't necessarily come out of that West Coast bubble until like for example, you know, like I said, I travel a lot between the South and New York, so I actively, you know, test these things out and just, you know, so, you know, when Pop was alive and doing his thing, and Welcome to the Party had the entire city in a fucking chokehold. Like, when I mean, like, New York, Jersey, probably all the way down to Washington, D.C., he had shit on lock. But as soon as I got down to the South, we talking Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, I had to, and I counted. I asked at least 10 people if they heard about Pop Smoke, they listened to Pop Smoke, whatever. Nobody knew who this nigga was. Nobody knew who he was. And I'm like,
they didn't know nothing about Pop Smoke probably until he passed away, right?
Until he passed away, that's when I was like, wait, y'all niggas is listening to Pop Smoke? Like, if y'all niggas don't get the fuck out of it, like, I was like, nigga, I was just down here a year ago, and nobody knew who the fuck this nigga was, and you know what I'm saying? Now he's dead, and everybody is like, yeah, like, so it was
shit, you know what I'm saying?
That bubble is real. That bubble can be real, like, and you can really, I mean, from Jay Critch, he had his run. Everybody thought he was about to be the next guy. Who else? It was a couple of guys. I want Dave East.
Oh, is another one. I love Dave East. Oh my god.
Yeah, who it's people who we thought were going to, like, who we in the city them niggas went triple platinum in the city, but
Like Jim
out to the
Jones
rest of
or
the
Fat Joe or something like that. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I know what you mean. Like,
but to the rest of the world, they didn't have that same effect. But New York culture is so strong, and the city is like
that's a hip hop
it's
mecca, though, man.
yeah, like you don't necessarily need to pop anywhere else because it's like the West Coast. You don't necessarily need to pop anywhere else besides the West Coast because the West Coast is
The
so
economy
big.
that's out
The
there, yeah.
support, yeah, the economy is so strong that you can just float around in the West Coast and be a guy making your money in the West Coast, and the nigga will never hear about you in the East
And that's
or
why
care.
Kenny
You
was
know what
able
I'm
to like
saying?
transcend that. I mean, I talk to people about this too.
And
Like
I give
sometimes,
him that.
yeah, and I give him that
Mm-hmm.
too as well. Like, I mean, you go back to like when there's not a lot of like producers that can produce a sound that's going to break through that bubble. You know what I mean? You gotta team up
Yeah,
with Mustard in order to get past that. Because if you don't, if you go and listen to some of the music that's out there, there's a sound like it's like a East LA, sound that, only if you ain't from there, you're not gonna really mess with it. You know what I'm saying? And you
yeah,
hear a lot of that on GNX. You know what I mean? Like with Peekaboo and all that kind of
mm-hmm.
stuff. That's a real East LA song, bro. Like I know it very
Yeah,
fondly. And if you're not Kendrick Lamar or an artist of that stature, you're not gonna hear that in Texas or
mm-hmm.
Georgia. You know what I'm saying? Or like you said, in any of the Carolinas. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not gonna
Yeah.
break through. And it's like, man, at what point, like you said, we're going to have these healthy conversations, about the music, you know what I mean, and get past, this, because I feel like they suck up the oxygen, you know what I mean, this whole, especially with
Yeah,
this
it
lawsuit, you know
has.
what I mean,
For the last year, it
um,
has.
and I don't know how we get past this unless maybe like you said, maybe there's some stuff that comes out from the case, but even then, you know what I mean, like me knowing,
Yeah,
I feel like me knowing
even
Drake, like how petty he can be, you know what I'm saying?
uh
Him being a Scorpio and all that kind of stuff.
huh.
He's not gonna let this go.
Nah,
You know what I'm saying? He
he
ain't letting
said
this
it.
ride.
I'm a hold this grudge till I'm 75. You know what I'm saying? Like he he's not about to let
And,
this go. I don't
and
think he
fans
ever
follow the
listens.
artist, right?
Yeah,
So it's like, I mean, I don't know where we can get to a spot where,
I think
it's
it's we you have a gauge when you're talking to a Kendrick fan, and it's a gauge that, like I said with the last conversation, and we had a 4 hour conversation, and and that was the longest episode we ever shot in this in
wow.
this in this whole in this whole
Hmm.
what I think I've been doing this for since 2018, so a good couple of years now. So, but and we really just and it was basically like 5 Drake fans versus like 1 Kendrick fan in there,
Oh, y'all teaming
and
up on it like that.
yeah, no, but I kind of just moderated the conversation and let the
Okay.
boys because they were excited to really
Just be at a
be able to
platform.
have a civil conversation with
Mm.
somebody who definitively like I said like feels like Kendrick won the beef, and you know I think there's a gauge that we have, and like I said it at that conversation, and I knew like as long as we're not diving into Drake's a pedophile, and we're not having these side conversation that derails the whole thing. We're not having the conversation about whether it's true or not of the whole domestic violence is because there's just not
Sure.
enough. It derails the meat and potatoes of
Okay.
the argument.
Well, let's talk about the
And
meat and potatoes because I mean, I
yeah,
feel like if we just, drown out the rest of the stuff, the content, the music itself, Drake makes it's just not even a conversation to me. You know what I mean?
mhm.
Like, you look at the catalog that Drake has versus the catalog that Kenny has. To me, I mean, what
It's no
Kenny's got, what
conversation.
maybe there's no conversation to me. Humbly speaking, I'm being
Yeah.
really objective here. Like, I give him Good Kid, Mad City. I give him Damn. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Um, I even fuck with Section 80s. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Hmm.
I'm that much of a Kendrick. I was like that's how much I roll with Kendrick. You know what I mean? I didn't
Right.
particularly like To Pimp a Butterfly too much. I mean, I understood the message, but just didn't sonically sit with me well. Um, and then like the Big Steppers, I felt like was a flop. But I mean, don't get
Yeah.
me wrong, Drake has had his fair share of duds. I mean, I think initially when Honestly Nevermind first came out, it didn't hit me well either. It took me a while to actually you know, and then like
get into it.
and then there was another record he did with Future, you know what I mean? I didn't particularly, I still don't like, I don't
The
like.
Wait for You.
Nah, what is it? What is Time to Be Alive? Sorry.
Okay, yeah.
I just don't like that record at all. Like I don't like that album.
Yeah, it wasn't. It's some Drake fans like kind of overhyped that
Yeah.
that album, but I
But
think it was
everything
all right
else,
for what it was supposed to be. It was just
yeah,
because
but
we never seen artists like really collabing on that level, making a whole albums. Two people that we wanted to see make a
exactly
whole album together. So yeah,
from
it did
different,
what it was
like
supposed
I
to.
mean, like because Drake was more like that, came off that backpack rap, boom bap. You know what I mean? Like
Uh
Kendrick, I mean, Future was making songs for the strip club. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. Drake
huh.
had his hits for the club and everything like that, but you could actually, he was a lyrical person. You know what I mean? More lyrical than anything, and the
Yeah,
combined the two styles, it just it didn't fit right. It was forced. But
yeah,
I mean, when you again, you know, you just talk about the music, even the current. You know what I mean? Like you throw GNX out there and you throw it up against Sexy Songs for You. If you're actually a person who loves music, you'll understand that the content and what you're listening to is miles better than what GNX is. You know what I'm saying? Even
yeah.
on face value, you know, like I thought GNX was a mixtape when it first came out. I'm gonna be
Exactly.
honest with you, you know, because there's no cohesion there.
Now they telling us this is an album.
Yeah, now they're telling us it's an album, right? But when I listen to Kendrick's music, I think there should be a narrative behind it. You know what I mean? There should be skits. You know what I mean? Like there should be something there. That was just. I felt like it was just like, you know, some slaps he just threw together and just let it go. And I felt
Yeah.
like it was rushed in a lot of ways. But that's where I just kind of like fell off the cliff with Kenny. You know what I mean? And I look at the music and it's like, bruh, we can't even really have a conversation because these guys don't listen to R&B. They don't even listen to that trap soul type stuff. You know what I mean? Like they're not into that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. They never draked and drive. You know? They don't know nothing about that. So it's kind of hard to have a conversation, you know what I mean, about and be objective about it, about just the music. They got to talk about something
Yeah.
else. They have to, you know? I feel like they have to go ahead.
No, I wanted to ask because you know you're a person who's in the West Coast and like
Yep.
you've been like you said a fan of Kendrick, and you know I've been fortunate enough, like I said, to make music with you know some people over there and speak with some figures over there, but you know I it's a question that I've asked a couple of people and I kind of got a surprising answer, but do you guys, and I say maybe back then when you were before the beef and maybe post beef, when it came outside of albums like the ones you named, the you know Good Kid, Mad Cities, Dams, the albums like that you know in my opinion the replayability is there and it's timeless and those are some classics. Do you see his other albums as something that, because I feel like the West Coast is going to come out and support Kendrick
Right.
no
No matter
matter
what.
what he puts out.
Correct.
But after that first and second spin, did you find yourself necessarily really listening to, you know, To Pimp a Butterfly or, you know, good Mr. Morale or, you know, his other off albums that, you know, the Untitled shit, like did you find yourself really bumping those and having those in like a regular
Were they in my
rotation?
rotation? Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I'm gonna be honest with you, they were. You know what I mean? Like I definitely play swimming pools a lot. Money Trees is one of my favorite songs. All Right. You know, Backseat Freestyle. There are a lot of songs that Kenny put out that, you know, I were heavily in my rotation. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I mean, I'm not gonna skip the song if it does come on now, right?
Yeah.
Um, but when I listened to the old Kenny, my frustration with him was he didn't have a West Coast sound. That was my frustration. He did collaborate with the DJ Quicks of the world, the Daz Dillingers, and you know the Corrupts and stuff like that. He didn't have that. On the closest he came to it was a song with Dre. You know what I mean? I feel like what's the name of that damn song? It's on the tip of my tongue. Pause. Um, I, I I can't think of it. It was like a airports. I know the lyrics of it, but I just can't name the name of it right now. But that
Oh,
was one of my frustrations with
yeah, I know
Kenny.
which one you're talking about.
You know what I mean?
That
The
money, weed,
closest
and
he,
weather joint.
yes, money, weed, and weather. That's the
Yeah.
closest I feel like he's come to actually. He had to mess with Mustard in order to break through that bubble, and that was, to me, dishonorable. Like, I mean, the Compton, you know what I mean, and that's why Game kind of looks at him in a certain way too. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, you Compton and everything like that, bro. You know, where's your DJ Quick record? You know what I'm saying? Like, and don't get me wrong. Again, he makes beautiful music, like especially pre-beef. Like it's like you said, timeless, bro. It was one of some of the pillars that held up hip hop. You know,
Yeah,
it's just
for
like
sure.
it doesn't come off as a West Coast sound when relatively speaking, if you listen to other artists that come from that, corner of the country. You know what I'm saying? And that was one of my gripes with him. But once he got with Mustard, it was like it was a cheat code. Like, bro, you really gonna go like this is what you succumbed yourself to. This is the West Coast you want. Fine. And Mustard is just like, I mean, not again, take nothing away from a great producer. You know what I mean? He made thousands and countless hits, man. Like, I take nothing away from him, but he's just a catchy beat type of guy. You know what I mean? Doesn't really speak to a lot of the essence sometimes of what the West Coast really represents, especially like the Bay Area and shit. You know, like he doesn't really tap into that pocket in some instances. And if you listen to anybody who is a fan of hip hop and music from the West Coast and is not biased and can be objective about what they're listening to, they'll tell you the same thing. You know, they'll be like, "Yo, Kenny, like I got buddies, I got DJ friends and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like we'll try to do some sets with West Coast, but Kenny's not involved in that. You know,
Really?
I got West Coast mixes on my SoundCloud right now, where
Is it
I
because he
play
doesn't really fit that sound more times than not, or
early on he didn't. It
okay?
wasn't until he came out with GNX, bro. Even if you go back and listen to like the Big Steppers, like that one record he got where I'm gonna put your name in the song. What's the name of that? Free Spirit, right? I mean, the snaps and the hi hats and stuff on that. Yeah, you could say it's West Coast, but like,
Right.
it's not really. You're not hearing that G funk sound, and that's kind of like where I really wish Kenny would have went hard at. Because that's what the West Coast is. You know what I mean? If you go back and listen to the Chronic, you know what I mean. 2001 with Dr. Dre, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. You ain't gonna hear that with Kendrick at all, and that's kind of what we ride with. Yeah, there are so many different records, bro. Like I can show you, man, like from other artists where they tap it into that pocket, and like I'd say this is more West Coast than what Kenny's putting out right now. You know what I mean? Like there's so many.
Interesting.
Like yeah, bro. Like Larry June, for instance, like he's got. I'm a heavy hitter of Larry June, bro. Like, and you see his collaborations with. I'd say he's more West Coast. I mean, I'd say taking nothing away from Kenny. He's definitely, he's got a different, pocket in the West Coast, and he's made his own lane, so to speak. But it's kind of like, where's the essence of the West Coast come in, with his music? That's kind of how I felt, especially pre-beef. Right now, he's just using a cheat code, which is Mustard. Anybody use Mustard. You've seen Migos collaborate. You've seen Drake collaborate with Mustard, right? And to get that West Coast sound, and everybody, that's going to break through. That's going to hit the radio. It's going to do numbers, whatever. No matter what Mustard puts out, it's going to do numbers. And I felt like he used a cheat code.
Damn, that's crazy. That's interesting because it kind of gives a little bit more insight to, because you keep hearing people say, well, damn, man, Kendrick really is bringing forth the West Coast sound, the West Coast, and I'm like, well, wasn't that what he was doing the whole, like, why the fuck are you niggas glazing this? Like, but I'm like, why are you niggas glazing this shit? Like, this is some fucking, like, but that kind of gives more insight, I guess,
more perspective
to why niggas is kind of glazing it like that. You know what I mean? Because think
about it. Like, what was his first record? Just, I mean, like, Not Like Us, I think was one of his first records with Mustard. And they've been in the game for how long together? There's a reason why he avoided Mustard. It was a reason why he avoided Mustard. He wanted his sound. He didn't want that, manufactured commercial sound. You know what I mean? He wanted his shit to be organic. Yeah. You ain't gonna hear none of Mustard records on any of his biggest albums. Never. I think I forget who did Free Spirit. I gotta go back and look now. Let me see. So when I look at Big Morale
Yeah,
and
that's
the Morale and Big Steppers, but let me see. I don't think he collaborated with Mustard on that album.
Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I
In
don't think so
'95 was
either.
Boy Wonder. Die Hard. Let me see what this is. It definitely wasn't Mustard. Yeah, that ain't Mustard. When I go back and look at Free Spirit, where is that at? Because those were Silent Hill. That definitely ain't Mustard. Yeah, he didn't collaborate with Mustard up until this album and the beef, bro. It was like a cheat code. It was manufactured. It was kind of like, again, it, it I'm just speculating here. Don't. I'm putting my tin cat on, right? What if it comes out that again, all this was meant. See, he didn't even collaborate with Mustard on this. I'm looking at the credits. Nothing with Mustard on this, right?
No.
So like when I go back and look at how all this came about, you know what I mean, and how the beef turned out, and how he became the guy to diss Drake, and platform. It feel like the label had a lot more involvement in it. He was like, we're going to go get, and I think this is one of the reasons why Drake wants to see his contract too. I don't know,
Right.
but they
I wonder
got,
what he's gonna find when he sees that. That's probably the more interesting to me than the bots. Like, I want to know what that he's gonna see.
I mean, it gives incentive to, why he went the route he went. Like I said, I bring up the dishonorable of all of this, right? You didn't do any of this. You didn't move this way before, when you were TDE. You only did this when you got with UMG.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's like, plot twist, you know what I mean? Who's really the industry plant?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, who's really playing the industry games? Because you don't perform at the Super Bowl unless you play in the game,
Yeah.
right? You don't win 5 Grammys for one song unless you play in the game, right?
Yeah.
50 Cent never won a Grammy for Get Rich or Die Trying. Think about that. Probably the
Yeah,
best
that's
thing you've heard
crazy.
in hip hop. And he
Yeah.
won off one song, bro. 5 of them in one night. Get Rich or Die Trying's got some of the best hip hop. It's probably the best hip hop album I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the way he's been moving, it just seems, it's hard to get behind it from a hip hop fan's perspective. And I don't want to say nobody else is not a hip hop fan or anything like that. And everybody's got different, ears, and everybody's got different perspectives of how they see things. And I respect it, you know what I mean? But if you've been listening to Kenny from where he started to where he is now, he did a complete 180. And he's talking about watching the party die. It's like, really?
Which
Bro?
that's where that stuff like that is when I start. I mean, I was already kind of calling his character into question, but
His
my
integrity,
gripe
yeah.
with him is just like when it comes down to everything that he's breaking Drake down for. It's like, bro, you don't necessarily have time to talk about it anymore. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't really do. And this is why I say, and I don't know what I kind of can grasp your opinion on the Super Bowl and what you think about that. But when it comes down, I think the Super Bowl kind of encapsulates like everything I think about Kendrick Lamar, just because we're looking at a moment where everybody who, like I said, who are the Kamala Harris voters, who are who are all the people who
They
are
loved
telling
it.
you to vote for Kamala and shit
They
like
were
that, are the
glazing it.
same people. They were the same people who were like,
Yeah.
oh, the message.
I got family members like that, bro.
Yeah, and like I'm sitting here weeks or two, well, a month or two later now, and I'm like, well, okay, so what was the message about again?
Right.
We're not even talking about it. We're not even talking about anything. And I think it completely embodies like I said, how people look at Kendrick Lamar, how him putting a this arbitrary message forth, and just and people just trying to, like, I guess, explain or for him what he's trying to do and say, instead of him like
Rationalize.
just
Yeah.
just saying it. And I look at it and I gotta say, and I said this last week to talking rap, but I was like, you know what, you know, you had the president sitting right in front of this man, right? What did this guy, you know, looking at that performance and seeing this quote unquote message, what did he walk away saying? What did he look at, and what did the people like? How was he and the people around him moved to a point that he felt like, you know what, that young
I'm
man
supposed to
Kendrick
be offended
Lamar.
by this, right?
No, not even
Like,
offended, but you know, that young man Kendrick Lamar, like, you know, that was a thought provoking message. Like, you know, he brought something to my attention
sure.
that I had no idea was going on in the black community. Or
Hmm.
he, you know, brought something to my attention that, you know, I might be doing, or I might be, you know, coming off in a way that he's telling me to my face, you know, yo, bro, you got to tighten up. You need a dot. I mean, you had the president of the United States. Even if you are on that side of the, you know, Kamala, this, that, third, this nigga is the worst guy of all time. While he's sitting in front of you, why not? I would respect it more if you would make that a statement. If you would make that your
Correct.
message to say, all right, I'm going to say to you in front of your face what all of America wants to say to you. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
not
But
what that does, though, right?
but we made it about
No.
Drake. We made it about Drake, and then we have to listen for the next what week or two of people playing in our faces, treating us like we're stupid, and
And
telling
so
us
darn
that
helpful, right?
it's just telling us that the performance is about this message that we didn't get. And I mean, I've seen whole diagrams and graphs and lists of what this message was supposed to be. And
Yep.
I'm like,
They're
well,
trying to
what did it
rationalize
do?
this shit. Yeah.
Yeah, what was the effect? Now that we're sitting here in retrospect and in hindsight, what did the message do? What did and that to me encapsulates Kendrick's
And who did it really
entire
resonate
catalog.
with, right?
Exactly. Besides
You
the
know what I mean?
people
Because the
who want
message
to
is supposed to be
believe,
for, if you let them say it, right? It's supposed to be about
yeah,
Black America and how we, white
it was
America,
the
Uncle Sam is,
struggle
yeah.
story, and yeah,
You think Donald Trump got that message from that? Think about
Donald
it.
Trump didn't give two fucks. Donald Trump didn't give two fucks. Donald
And the
Trump was
people,
about this. Donald Trump was trying to figure out who he's about to pay to come meet him in the back to give him some top. This is what he was thinking. That nigga was not. That nigga was not thinking about what Kendrick Lamar. He probably was not even paying attention. He probably was having a full blown conversation, talking about some money, talking about something that had nothing to even
nothing
do.
to
Like,
do
come
with
on.
that damn halftime performance, right? And he's, like I said, he didn't know. Like, again, Kenny, don't get me wrong, is a great poet, and he's can articulate himself very well. And like, I feel like when
You
it
know
comes to
why?
the performance, mm,
No, you know why? You know why I respect Kanye. Think about what Kanye would have did.
oh,
Think
bruh,
about what Kanye would
he
have did
they would have
with
got
that.
the message if
Think
Kanye did
about
it.
what Kanye message would have been. We
Oh
would
my
have still been
goodness, it would
talking
have
about
been.
it.
It would, yeah, it would have been out in the open,
We'd have
blatant.
still.
Like he no mistakes, nothing behind the guise of a rap beef, nothing, none of that. It would have been, yo, this is what it is, right? And it
That's
wouldn't have
true
been.
revolutionary energy.
I
That's
agree. I
true.
agree.
Like,
I could not have
that's
said it
true.
any better,
Like,
bro.
even if I don't agree with it, I can respect the message, quote unquote. I can respect what he's trying to do. What Kendrick Lamar was trying to do was arbitrary. It was just, it was fluff.
Yep.
The nigga brought
Yep.
out both of Drake's exes and did not like us, and niggas wanted us to believe that it had this super deep meaning. Like, I mean,
Come on, man.
the whole, you know, Uncle Sam shit was cool, but
And
you
that
know,
kind of like plays back into the lawsuit, right? Like, I feel like this is why, Drake wants to kind of get, you know, the fine print of what the contract, not just to understand the splits and everything like that, but what was the plan and the motive behind all of this? You know what I'm saying? Like, he's trying to get to, again, I got my tin cat on, understanding, how UMG was using Kendrick Lamar in this whole beef, because again, it all started with Like That, right?
yeah,
Drake was, coming up on his, end of his deal to renegotiate. You know what I'm saying? And Drake had a lot of leverage. Not just because of his numbers and stuff like that, but
Facts.
what he was able to recoup. You know what I mean? He was keeping not just only keeping the lights on, bro. He was man. So like they knew that they didn't want to give him a number. That they. It's kind of like anybody in business, right? I mean, if I can go play this employee to do the same thing that you're doing for less money, it's a no-brainer, right? And I feel like, understanding what was in the details of that contract and what what UMG's role was and how Kendrick Lamar was going to execute that will tell them a lot about their case when it comes to defending the claims of defamation, because that's what it really boils down to. Like, we're going to the Super Bowl to defame another man. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you. There's a lot of parallels that I look at, especially when it comes to like when Jay-Z and Nas were battling. I can draw a lot of parallels from that battle compared to this one, and I say that to say, Nas may have won that battle, but he didn't win the war.
Yeah. Facts.
And they look at that Super Bowl as like the nail in the coffin. I'm like, I don't know, man. I think he might have, if anything. I look at it like you watch that show on Netflix, I think it was, what was that black dude's name? I can't think of it now. He's a superhero. And he was made in a lab. And they did everything they could to destroy him, but they only made him stronger. You know what I mean?
Luke Cage.
Luke Cage, bruh. That's what I feel like Drake is right now.
Yeah, and it's not much that you can do with him, and I think that goes into why Kendrick Lamar might be, jealous of who Drake is. It's just because he doesn't have to play the games. This is a guy who can just sit here and I don't want to do the Super Bowl. I'm not doing that. I don't have to do this. I don't have to bend over backwards to get this opportunity to do this and play all the games that this nigga has to play. And he's seen that, and it might have been something that kind of made him resent Drake in the long run and be like, "Oh, this is some bullshit." Like, you know what I'm saying? Like this.
But the thing is, they could have all been on the same record performing that song at the Super Bowl. Think about that. That could have been a moment for a real moment for hip hop. Right?
Well, like I said, from my sources and from from my understanding, the nigga wanted to get on. Drake wanted him to get on first person shooter, but he wanted to get on first person shooter and pull another control. And so Drake was like, "Nah, fuck that."
Really?
Like, yes.
Are you serious?
Drake wanted Kendrick to be on first person shooter with him and J. Cole, which is why
I knew he wanted to be on. I didn't know he wanted to do another control type of verse. I didn't know that. See,
I think that's why he said that it's just me and Cole. It's just me and Cole part, and
me, Aubrey, and me. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's why I think Kendrick said it in one of his diss songs. He said niggas trying to hit me to do something. Niggas trying to Niggas thought I was about to get on something. He said something along the lines of that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, niggas thought I was about to get on the track or come work with him or some shit like
remember
that. And that was Drake basically, like I said, hitting him up to do the whole, all right, yo, this would be dope. The big three on first person shooter.
Have a swagger like this moment, right?
Exactly. Like, you know what I mean? And it'd have been like some next like think about it. It would have been,
because look at the video. Just look at the video. Like that, I'm gonna be honest, like, I'm not glazing it. That's one of the best videos I've seen in my life. Like that
and
first
add Kendrick to it. Add Kendrick to it. It would have been even more epic. Like and even after post beef, all of that. I'm telling you, that would.
And they had to perform it at the Super Bowl too. Like it would have been a perfect setup for hip hop. It would have been a big moment. Like I said, only thing I can compare it to is like Swagger Like Us. Like when Jay and T.I. and Wayne and Kanye got on the song. You know what I mean? Remember that? And they performed it at the Grammys. Like, it would have been a moment like that. Like, in modern day, that would have, like, we would still be playing that song. I mean, don't get me wrong, some of them still are, but, like, that record would have been that much bigger. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I feel like Kenny, like you said, is just some jealous clout chasing,
Yeah, he kind of wanted to make it a selfish moment. It seemed like with the Cole, if he was trying to really go that route and make it a control moment. So if that was the case, I can understand why Drake was like, "Well, fuck that. I'm about to just leave you off, nigga." Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're not about to be on the
Damn.
record, basically, like bitching us, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I
We're trying to
mean? And
make a
just
hit
shitting
song
on,
and you over here trying to, shit on
yeah.
us and shit. Yeah, I
You over
see
here
that.
like
Wow, I didn't know.
it's not a
I
nigga
never
fuck the
looked at
big
that.
three. It's just big me type shit. Like, you know what I mean? And which is I think that spilled into the whole like that verse. So,
Mm-hmm.
and
Right.
which is
Yep.
why he kind of did his thing with both of them. Like, all right, nigga, I'm about to make this shit pop by myself. I'm about to pop it off by myself, and y'all niggas can't stop this one. Y'all niggas can't do anything about this one. Like, you know what I mean? And I don't know, maybe, and just theorizing here, like maybe Drake looked at that and said like, all right, he's trying to do some weird shit, and this is not the best time for me to do all of this right now, because
Yeah, because
right
Drake
now
didn't
these niggas,
engage with him.
he
Right.
didn't, and he was like, like we said, we think in my beliefs, I think he was already disgruntled with his label, and
Right.
had problems with them, and he was looking at that shit like, this is not even the best time. Like the bro's trying to cannabis him. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he was trying to fucking cannabis LL Cool J this nigga. Like, you feel me? Like, and it was
Yep.
just like, wait, hold on, nigga. Like, hey, hold on. Like, nah, nah, nah.
It's not what this ain't
Yeah,
the cake mix you used to. This ain't what you
yeah.
think it
You're
is,
not
bro.
about to.
You
You
know?
think you about to like try to do some weird shit on my own album, nigga? Like, nah, it's not happening.
Yeah.
So,
It's not. Yep.
um,
Yep.
I don't think that was the ideal time for Drake to engage with him, and he might have seen it as that, and kind of just like, all right, this nigga's just he's just out here for his, like, this nigga's just selfish. He just want to make this a
He
moment
just wants the
for
top
himself.
spot. He just wants to, like he wanted that top spot for like, man, I don't know how many years, and then he fell off. He came out with then big steppers and stuff like that. Nobody was talking about
Mm-hmm.
this nigga, bro. Nobody. Like
Yeah.
he wasn't relevant to the hip hop discussion. I mean, we recognize his artwork and his but he wasn't prevailing in hip hop like that. You know what I mean? He wasn't omnipresent like Drake is. Drake has been in hip hop and been like again omnipresent since YouTube.
Mm.
Like, think about that. When was YouTube dropped? When did
Like
YouTube get
what?
created? 20. I think it
Like
was like right a little
05,
after I
like oh
graduated.
oh yeah, like shit, like
07 or '08 or
2008,
something
two,
like yeah.
yeah, like
And he's been
some shit like that.
omnipresent in hip hop ever since then. And like you said, Kendrick wanted some of that. He wanted more than just
Yeah,
a share of the pie. He wanted the whole thing. And
yeah,
he's willing to do whatever he could to get what Drake is getting. And I feel like, man, he said it in a rap too, like, he said it in Church of the Downs, I think, being at, base camp while I'm at the mountaintop or something along those lines, right? Y'all playing y'all's, route up top, and they got everybody together and they made the mountain climb up to the top of the, mountain. And my thing is, if you're going to take a shot at the top, don't miss. Don't
mm,
miss.
yeah,
And I felt like they missed badly. They missed
yeah.
badly.
Cause
Um,
bro's still, bro's still kicking.
it's like a Nokia. He's really like a Nokia. Nokias are
Yeah,
indestructible.
yeah,
There's a reason. There's a meaning behind the record. Nokia is like, bro, I can easily just come out with another hit record like Nokia or Hotline Bling, and I'm literally bulletproof.
I'm right back.
You can do
Like,
whatever
I'm
you
right
want.
back there.
Like I'm right back, bro. Like this is easy to me. And I think I was listening to an interview about someone in the past. I think it was somebody within Cash Money. I want to say Mac Main or somebody, and they were talking about like just when Drake finally came into the game, he had just a portfolio of hit records. Like, just he can like
Mm.
here's one,
Just got a
here's
bag
one.
of
You know what I mean?
smoke.
Like, just got a
Yeah.
bag full of hit records, and I feel like he's
Mm-hmm.
been holding on. I mean, I think Nokia was created last year, but I feel like he's got plenty of those in the bag, like in the
Mm-hmm.
tuck. Like he can do this easily, bro. Like you make a few changes, a few tweaks here and there. Like I think it was what record did he do with Kanye, and Wayne early on in his career? What was the name of that record? I knew what's it called? I want this shit forever, man. What was that record
Oh,
called?
is it ever or over?
I
No,
forget
that's
what
not
it
over.
was.
Yeah, forever. Yes, I think. Yeah, I think it's forever.
I want this shit forever, man. It was on LeBron's little documentary
Yeah,
and shit,
it's
right?
forever.
He had that like for years, bro. For years. You know,
Really?
and yeah. Like it was an interview that Mac Maynard, one of the Young Money affiliates, had where they were talking about, you know, how Drake had this record, the verses written and everything. Like there's reference
Mm.
tracks for it. You know what I mean? And he just, you know, has a bunch of those that he can do at any point in time. And I feel like UMG knows this, and they want him to actually, you know, because they want that part, they want that, you know, licensing. You know, if he creates this and lets it go, now they got money stake in that record now. You know what I mean? They'll be forever a part of that. Because right now they own all his music. I think up until 2018.
Yeah,
I
I think.
think he has all his masters up until that point when he signed with UMG or something along those lines. But they want, and again, I'm putting the tin cat on. We can sit here and say like, hey, you know, you listen to some of the records that Drake has dropped since, you know, 2018, 2019. You know, like
Right.
Certified Lover Boy,
Yeah,
Her Loss,
bangers.
Dark Demo Tapes. I think, and then, you know, For All the Dogs, right? We can, you know, objectively say, you know, especially For All the Dogs, that's not what we expected. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like when it first came out, I was like, really, Drake? Like this is the lane you going? Like, and I wasn't really mad at it, but like when you know, if you pushing like the record and the record you're doing it with is fucking 8 a.m. in Charlotte, right? That was the lead record. Shot a video for it and everything. Like I'm thinking we about to
Right.
get some heavy bar Drake. Like, oh my goodness. And it was something different. If he didn't deluxe that shit up, oh
Yeah.
my god, like
Yeah, and
people would have been looking at Drake a little different.
yeah, I kind of went on a little bit of a rant about that too, because I was tight about that shit at first. You know, I was like, you know,
Yeah.
Drake,
Okay.
nigga, this shit is supposed to be for all the dogs, nigga. This shit sound like it's for all the
Yeah.
bitches. Like the fuck, nigga. Like,
Exactly.
I'm like, nigga,
Yes.
I didn't want to hear no singing. I said for all the dogs. Oh yeah, this about to be a.
We didn't
Yeah,
already
you know what I
got all
mean,
that
this.
on Certified Lover Boy and shit,
Yeah,
right?
you
So
already
like,
put out the certified. I was like, yes, Drake gave us the certified lover boy, some shit for the bitches. This one for gonna be for the dogs. This gonna be for the real rap fans and niggas who want to hear him rap. I was in that mindset,
that's
and you know
exactly yes. Mm-hmm.
that's why I think that same reason is why I like some sexy songs so much, because he put us in that mindset. Like, yeah, there's gonna be some sexy songs. There's gonna be some like
We know what to
Valentine's
expect.
Day
Yeah.
shit.
Mm-hmm.
I knew what to expect, and it fit. Though I feel like they hit
He
the theme of
he
the
definitely didn't fail
album
that
out
assignment
the
at all,
park.
bro.
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
like you know what I'm saying. And I feel like that might be one of like Drake's best. I still got that shit in rotation heavy. Like that's like my number one album right now that I'm
There's no
listening
misses
to
on
out
that
of
album, bro.
everything.
There's no
Yeah,
misses
there
to
really
me.
isn't. Yeah, to me there isn't either. To me there isn't either. If I had to give one, it used to be Meet Your Padre, but even that shit grew on me. Like,
Even
yeah,
that
that
kind
was
of
the
growth,
only one that
right?
needed to
Yeah.
grow on me though. That was the only one that needed to grow.
Damn, bro, we
So
got the same ear, man. That's crazy.
yeah,
Like that was the only record where I was like, oh, Drake rapping in Spanish again. Fuck. All
yeah,
right,
yeah,
whatever,
and
man.
usually Drake's albums take a little bit of time for me to grasp. Just like I think, just because I'm trying to figure out where he's going and figure out his mind frame and the
Mm-hmm.
entire like theme. Because Drake doesn't always like make you know, his albums just match this theme, which I think more artists, including him, should go back to.
You should do
Is
that. Exactly. I agree,
yeah,
man. I
make
completely
a
agree, bro.
experience, make a you know, start going back to themes, experience
So far
skits.
gone, bro. Oh my god.
Yeah, like come
Whew.
on, like give us the more cinematic
Nothing was the
albums,
same,
like
man. Like,
yeah. Like
oh man. Yeah.
I think we need more cinematic experiences, and that's something that, like I said, and that's why I call him lazy, because I think Drake could
Yeah.
easily
And
give
I think the
us
record label's frustrating with that for that same reason.
mm, maybe yeah
That's
maybe
yeah. When For All the Dogs came out, don't get me wrong, they
mm,
probably, you know, did their due
that's a good
diligence
one.
and heard the record, but they want that. They want that from Drake. They know that he's not outputting. He's being lazy. He's holding back.
Mm,
and I think he's holding back for the, you know, right reasons. You know what I mean? Like, yo, I need my money before I actually, you know, let go of this. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not about to give y'all something that y'all don't appreciate or it can't be reciprocated. This is, you know, some, and I feel like he, especially with the new album he about to drop. Oh my lord. Oh my lord.
I think he's about to drop like a real classic, like some next shit. And I think, like I said, once again, if he sticks to, you know, this being a like conversation with him and the fans, just speaking about and going over this last year that, you know, went on with him, you know, maybe some of the things that was going on, his experiences, and his state of mind, stuff like that. I think that'll, you know, I think that'll be dope. And I think he has.
What kind of production do you want to hear?
I don't know. You know, because I kind of love the production on Certified Lover Boy for the most part. Like, you know, songs like Fair Trade.
Oh,
like that shit. Like I like that classic, you know, Drake with a nice dope sample, and it's just so like it just has this airy acoustic, like I don't know,
yeah,
almost
man.
like it's like
I know exactly what you mean, bro.
Yeah, like it's I love that Drake.
Yo.
Real quick, I got my boy K Melly. First of all, bro,
going,
congratulations, my boy.
I can't hear y'all. Hold on, I might have to leave and come back.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's my boy K. That's my boy K Mills. You know him.
Oh yeah. I know.
Yeah. My boy K Mills.
I'm glad he's here.
I seen him saying that he wanted to hop in some spaces and hop in and do something. I'm like, yo, bro, shit, we already got the, you know what I'm saying?
Man,
we already
got this more often.
chopping it up.
We got this more often.
Facts.
Yeah,
bro, you're always invited. I try to do this a couple of times a week whenever I can, pop in and pop out here. So yeah, bro, most definitely. But this is another one who's always in here with me and popping in, and him, Rap Rhetoric, DJ K Dub. Those are
I know K Dub.
Yeah, those are some other guys who, you know, K Dub love coming in here.
Shit. He knows his shit. Dub knows his shit, bro.
He was in the last episode with us. Actually, K Mills, K Dub, they both was in the last one.
I actually watched it.
I
watched it. I actually watched it. I think that was when he kind of went in with the Roy Woods thing. I think, or something along those lines.
Yeah. Facts.
Man, I got a lot of respect for Roy. I love Roy Woods, man. Like, see, Drake has created a lot of motherfuckers, bro. Like, oh my god, man.
Facts. And I didn't even know about Roy Woods being one of his for a while. Yeah, I was over here bumping his shit, and I didn't even know. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm just an R&B head. Like, I'm a heavy R&B head. Like, for real. Like, I probably listen to more R&B than I do hip hop.
Yeah, and speaking of R&B, right? Because I think R&B is kind of like shifted, right? It's not what it used to be, especially when I was coming up. You know, I came up on like the Donnell Joneses, you know, the Day Hollisters, you know, the Jaheems and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, that's not what's being made right now. You know what I mean? It's definitely not that. And I feel like Drake actually, you know, pioneered a sound that this modern generation can tap into when it comes to the R&B. I call it that trap soul. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I feel like he's perfected it. You know what I mean? Like, to be able to, you know, melodically dance over a record and it have the, you know, samples that it has is something that I don't think can be duplicated. Not very many people can do it. You know, like you said, Roy Woods. You got your Travis, not Travis. I said Travis Hunter, bro. What's that other kid? Bryson Tiller.
Oh, Bryson Tiller.
No, yeah. Like, I mean, there's not too many people that can tap into that pocket of music and do that kind of R&B. That's why I feel like it's not that prevalent now. I mean, Chris Brown has his own style of R&B too, but I think a lot of it is because they ain't crying over women no more. You know, now it's about you know, disrespecting women.
It ain't begging. It ain't groveling at their feet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Baby, please. I don't get. I'm so wrong. I'm a fucked up nigga. Like, and that's crazy. That's funny you say that, because I realize so much like how much like men of today just reject that whole way of thinking. That I
Yes.
don't know. Can R&B like that even be be made? Like, or is somebody gonna look at
Or
somebody
have any
like that?
staying power.
Yeah,
How does it have
yeah.
staying power, right? How do you like
Mm-hmm.
you let's say you do make that kind of music. Will
Mm-hmm.
it have any staying power like Sexy Songs for you? Like that's an R&B album and it's
With the
hitting the charts,
ladies, it
bro.
would.
When's the last R&B album?
You be the Derek Jackson of the music game. You know what I'm saying? You might get away with it. you might get away with it.
I mean, what's the last R&B album you see hit like on the chart and have staying power like that in modern time, like the past 10,
Not
2000?
much. Not much.
It's Chris
That's
Brown
why these
maybe,
niggas is
but
converting to besides Chris Brown, that's why these niggas is converting to country music, in my opinion. but
wow,
but I don't know.
wow, that just
It's a
hit me,
lot.
bro. Like wow, I didn't that damn. Yeah, you're right, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Country music is where
even
it's at, though. I be
Beyonce,
fucking with country music.
even
You know me,
Beyonce,
I'm in the
right?
South a
I
lot.
mean,
Yeah. Beyonce too. Yeah.
mm, because she hasn't
And I
really
think
made an
Lil Nas
R&B
X
album in a while,
proved.
right?
No, I don't think so. I don't really keep up with too much Beyonce. Yeah, I think she made like a more of a house or like
It wasn't an R&B album.
it
The
was like
Renaissance album. I was more of a upbeat, it was a deep house record. Really,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
right.
EDM type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I know this 'cause my wife is a big Beyonce. She's in the Beehive. You know what I mean? So like, I go back and look at some of the last Beyonce R&B record. It's been a while, bro. Even her
Yeah,
records with Jay-Z, the Carters, right? That's not R&B.
yeah. No, that was more like a. I don't know. That was more like just like a
Let me
little
go back
collab
and look
album.
at like I think Lemonade maybe was the last. I don't know, but yeah, it's been a while. Like since
She's
we've
been
heard.
experimenting for a while.
Yeah, she's been experimenting for a while. I'm just trying to think of like R&B albums that have had staying power, like that I can go back and name off the top of my head. And yeah,
People fucking hate Beyonce, and I don't know why. She gets like so much hate.
why?
I don't know.
That's wild. Hey
People
man, I'm
like
about to
hate
leave and go get
Beyonce, bro.
something to eat. That's crazy to me. That is crazy. Why would they hate Beyonce, bro? Let me see here. Now I'm
I
about to
think
go.
most of it rolls over from Jay-Z, but I don't think there's a real reason to hate her, in my opinion.
Yeah, she's one of the best artists of all time, bro.
Speaking
My humble
of,
opinion.
since we got a little more time here, I wanted to get your opinion on this as well.
Well, Wayne is
Wayne recently
not doing
had
the Super
this.
Bowl.
Yeah, he recently had an interview with Rolling Stone, and
Hmm.
he had said some. There's a lot of things that he said, but this is one of the more interesting things he said. He said he's not interested in performing for the Super Bowl at halftime show anymore. He's speaking to Rolling Stone. He shared that they stole that feeling. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. It was perfect. And I think somewhere he also said that he seeing Kendrick performing. As far as Kendrick performing, he said he walked in. It wasn't anything to come in or walk into. He didn't want to, watch it.
Right.
And in so many words, he was just saying he wasn't fucking with it. He didn't watch Kendrick
He wasn't.
perform.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and he kind of just stood on it that he didn't want to
He called him like
necessarily.
before the Super Bowl, and you know what I mean, or something like that
Yeah,
along those lines. Like he wasn't him, and there's nothing really big going on between him and Kendrick. I think I read
yeah,
some of it. I mean, do you blame him?
no. I think that was definitely especially with what Kendrick delivered. We could have got a show from Wayne. And
You
I
don't think
can
Wayne would have
argue it
brought
would
him
have
on the
been.
stage, maybe?
You said what?
I mean, you could have. I mean, go ahead. I don't want to cut you off. I was gonna say maybe Wayne might have even invited him, but
Well, I don't know if Wayne would have invited him, because then that would have looked more crazy on Wayne's part, even more crazy than
true.
him
Yeah,
coming up
yeah, that's
and
true.
then him like Kendrick inviting him. But
Right.
I think that Wayne would arguably even put up a more entertaining show, and Wayne would have. Well, I don't think so. I think Wayne would have put up a better show because Wayne would have played to
Absolutely.
his hits. He would have played to his
That's right.
classics. He
That's
would
right.
have, played to,
The
his strength.
Cash Money, Young Money stuff. You know what I mean? We
Yeah.
probably would have had a Young Money reunion with Nicki Minaj and Drake,
Yeah,
potentially,
he's
right?
always had a great relationship, it would seem, with Nicki Minaj, and they never have anything bad to say about each other. So I don't see a world where she doesn't show up. I don't. Maybe Drake shows up, but I think Nicki definitely shows up and gives because she never stops. Drake doesn't either, but she never stops giving Wayne his props.
I know.
And I mean, she even did when it was decided that he didn't get the spot. So, yeah, I mean, between her and a lot of other people in obviously, that whole Cash Money, Young Money umbrella
Right. We
and
could have
Hot
brought
Boys
Juvenile on
era.
stage, right?
Exactly.
I mean,
Like he could have
right.
definitely. I just wanted him. I just want to see him perform Duffel Bag Boy. That's it. That's it. That's the one thing he got to do. That's all he got to do.
Oh my
Look,
God.
as long as he performed Duffel Bag Boy, we
Lord.
straight. I'm good. Like I'll be like, yeah, this shit is better than anything that Kendrick could have did. So,
Dude,
but,
man. I mean, I did leave disappointed though. Like I
yeah,
even to Kendrick's standards, right? He could have
he's
dipped into
done
his
different. He's
old hit,
done better performances than that.
done way better, bro.
Like
Bruh.
his BT performance was leagues better than that. Like, you know what I mean? So it's just like I mean it's a shame because most of it is going to just be seen as hate and, oh, you're just a Drake fan, so you want. But it's like, no, he, like, genuinely speaking, he could have done better. Like, he could have put together a better product. He could have put together a better show. And I think personally that, like, he's creative enough, and it just seemed, I don't know, it kind of seemed half-assed. Like, it just seemed like he didn't necessarily put in the work that he needed to put in or the time. I don't know what he's been doing, but it's like, bro, you could have took your time and put together a way deeper
A way
hitting
better
show.
show, a
Like,
way better production. Yeah,
yeah,
the
some of the hits
choreography,
way deeper.
the wardrobe, and all that kind of
The
stuff. Like, if
message.
that's the message, right? If that's the message that he was trying to put across, I don't think it was effective, personally.
Yeah,
But
no.
I mean, that's how Kenny. And if you talk to any of his fans, they'll tell you, like, hey, that was, like, they'll analyze it for you and give you all the little, like I said, the Easter eggs about it and everything like that. But again,
Well,
if you just don't look at it on
it's
face
funny because
value, that's
Kendrick
not the
fans
message
don't
I got.
stand on the performance or the message anymore. They just stand on the numbers and how many times it was viewed, which is funny to see them, revert to that
Talk numbers, right?
argument. But
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, so now the only thing that matters is the numbers. It doesn't matter
And it's
that
the numbers.
we didn't get
And
the
that's
message.
not even all Kenny.
Yeah, facts.
That's not even all Kenny. That's just anticipation of the Super Bowl, right? I mean, don't get me wrong. Everybody wants to see the biggest. I mean, I look at it like the Floyd Mayweather syndrome, right? Everybody's tuning in to watch him lose,
Yeah,
right? Everybody's tuning in to watch Patrick Mahomes lose, right?
I
That
tuned
has a
in.
lot to do with it.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. You want to see Patrick Mahomes. You want to see what is he really going to diss Drake? That has a lot to do with that. You know what I
yeah.
mean? It's not because he had a great performance. Like, let's be real. Like, I
It's the
mean,
Drake
it wasn't
stimulus.
nothing. Yeah, exactly. It wasn't nothing groundbreaking or ground shattering. Like, the performance that Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg had at the Super Bowl a few years ago. Rihanna's performance was better than that, to be honest with you. But, like, that, I relived my childhood at that performance. Usher's performance, right? Like, bruh, I
Yeah,
felt left. I felt just left out. And I felt like you said, if Wayne was did the performance, we would have been reliving our childhood.
yeah.
You know,
I definitely think Wayne would have did a better job, and I think he would have definitely been more appreciated. I mean, I think the culture spoke when they said, like, this should have been Wayne's spot. This should have been Wayne's opportunity, and that was the culture speaking right there, and it was just kind of ignored. It was just kind of like, it was unfortunate that it went that way, but I mean, it is what it is. I don't think Wayne is going to be happy or ever forgive that or look at that as something that he want to do. Wayne is who he is, but I think most people are just going to look at this and just be like, oh, Wayne's a crybaby. He's this, he's that, and he's not going to necessarily be like, given the credit that this moment was definitely taken away from me, and I felt like that was my time to shine, which it definitely was.
Right.
So
Right. Come on,
yeah,
bro. It was in New Orleans, man. Like,
it was
come
in New
on,
Orleans.
man.
Yeah,
Like,
it was a no
it's
brainer.
like it just like felt way, and in the fact that he got this. I mean, come on, bro. Like, I would have picked like maybe 2 or 3 other artists before I would have went with Kendrick Lamar for our Super Bowl halftime performance, and that kind of just solidified the machine being behind all of this, pulling the
Facts.
string. You know what I'm saying? Like, it
Facts.
was like, all right, I see what they're trying to do now. Like, it was just like, okay. Even from the commercial that they shot, you know what I mean, for the Super Bowl when he was, shooting the ball machine and everything like that. Like, I was like, all right, I see what this is. Like, I mean, we could have had, like you said, even like outside of Lil Wayne. I mean, T-Pain. I mean, I don't know. There could have been so many other,
So
artists
many
that,
people that could have popped out with that show and did and performed hits with him, and I think in this next chapter, a lot of people are going to be looking at Kendrick Lamar and seeing all the strings and stuff that's being pulled for them, while artists, while they are looking. I mean, I wrote an entire article about just how Metro and Future have been overlooked throughout this entire beef, and when it comes down to who's being awarded and all the Grammys and things like that, I mean, if you giving an award to Kendrick, you mean to tell me Metro Boomin and Future don't win at least one of those
bruh,
Grammys? You know what I'm saying?
especially
So
like with Metro, he's the foundation of a lot of this shit, right?
a lot of the
The
whole
hating.
kicking
Yes,
off of this shit, like, you know what I mean?
yes.
And
Without Metro, like
I
none of
think
this shit
he
happens. Yeah,
orchestrated a lot. Yeah, I think he orchestrated a lot in pulling Kenny into this, and
yeah,
just
man.
pulling the outside guys into this and shit like that. I
Wow,
think that he
wow. Yeah,
definitely orchestrated a lot. So yeah, if you guys haven't checked that
wow.
out, go hop
I
in my
am.
profile, check
Yeah,
out
I
that
never even
article if
looked
you
at it
guys
from that
haven't checked
perspective,
that
bro.
out. But yeah, I think that's a dope way to look at it. But yeah, real quick, because I gotta get out of here in a second, but I want to show the people where to tap in with you at. Please, if you have anything that you want to promote or let the people aware, make the people aware
Yeah,
of, now's your
yeah.
time. But yeah, let them know what's up with you.
Well, yeah, y'all can follow me on DJ Cali Chris on my Twitter. I'm also a DJ, and I've got a mixtape out right now as well. It's called Bars from the Six. It's all Drake,
Oh,
bar
okay,
heavy
okay,
Drake. Yeah,
okay.
it's in my bio, man. I mean, if you haven't listened to it already, you won't be disappointed. Yeah, man, just hit me up on Instagram as well, DJ Cali Chris. I also travel. If you guys want to book me for your gigs or anything like that, I travel all over the country DJing, man. So, yeah, man.
Facts.
I
That's
just
what's up.
appreciate the platform. I really do appreciate the platform, man. We should do this way more often, man.
Yeah, man.
I,
I look
I'm,
forward to having you on again. Like, my door is always open, man. So like I said, I always have some guest on, or
okay.
I'll just be sitting on here by myself. And you'll see like how Mills just popped in here. I think he having some technical difficulties, but you'll see
Yeah,
how
yeah,
some guys will just pop in. We'll just get to talking and just have a good conversation. So yeah, the door is always open, especially when I'm doing the live streams. Anytime you see me doing a live stream or anything like that, everybody watching, y'all are welcome. But yeah, anything else you want to let the people know before we get out of here?
No, I think we're good, man. Like, I feel like this conversation was really healthy for us both. You know what I mean? Like you said,
Yeah,
evolving our perspectives and
facts.
learning some new things. I appreciate it again, man, this conversation, because I did learn a lot from you, man. And I'm always around. I'm a sponge, bro.
Yeah,
I love being around people that are smarter than me, you know what I mean, and have a different perspective than me too, man. So I
Yeah, man.
appreciate it. I can't
It
thank you
was
enough, man.
it was a pleasure. Like I said, I like talking to dope people, people who are intelligent, people who, you know, really know how to, you know, put shit together and put their thoughts together and their words and articulate themselves. And, you know, it makes good conversation for the show, and it's really easy to, you know, push the conversation forward with people who are genuine in what what they believe and how they're trying to, you know, get their thoughts or argue their, you know, their thoughts. And, you know, I respect genuine people who are not really trying to push a narrative. We're just out here trying to, you know, say what it is, like, you know what I'm saying. And it's been a lot of people who are cashing in checks because it's more lucrative to, you know, be on the other side saying whatever. So, you know, it's a pleasure having you on. It's a pleasure having somebody who,
I just
you
call
know,
balls and strikes, bro.
yeah, facts. It's a
You know,
pleasure, and yeah, we most definitely got to do this more often. So yeah, I'll be looking forward to it, bro.
yeah, I hope this is a future. You know, there's more of this to come, man. Like, again, you know, like we can hopefully this is something, you know, a start to something bigger. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
facts, man. Get in the
Maybe we can come
DMs,
up with a
bro. We can.
podcast or something.
Yeah, man.
You
Get
know
in
what I
the
mean?
DMs.
Or
We can turn this into a regular thing and keep this going, bro.
we may come up with something. You know, just have, you know, discussions about hip hop. You know what I mean? And
Facts.
you know, that's what brings us together, right? So
Facts.
I mean, I'm all for it, bro.
Yeah, and I think the people will be for it too, because they always, even the Kendrick fans, they always seem to be tapped in and tuned in. So, you know what I mean, we got to give them a little content too. So
Yeah, looking for an objective perspective, right?
yeah, right. So yeah, y'all know what it is, man. It's your boy Dope Boy Diesel. I appreciate everybody who's tuned in and who stayed this long. Please, if you're listening on YouTube or on X, please hit that follow button, hit that bell notification so that you are notified anytime I post content, which I do post a lot of content. We got articles, we got videos, and we even got a series coming to the channel, so I hope you guys are in tune for that. Yeah, and interviews coming too. I got some interviews and stuff in the works too, so I hope you guys are in tune with that. Yeah, we got so much stuff coming in, you guys, so I just hope everybody's locking in and just here for everything that we got in store, because it's not going to be a shortage of consistency and content. I'm your boy Dope Boy Diesel. Appreciate you guys for stopping into the Doja room. As I said, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time. I'm out.
Yeah. Hey, this that special sauce. Spill that drip, I wipe it off. $1 million worth of game. Can't feel that I work too hard. Poetry.